How do? Welcome to Liquid Football with myself, Tenacious G, the Yorkie Man and the Daz Man. And today we're joined once again by another guest, this time in the shape of Jamoplays. Welcome in, mate. Nice wave.
Little wave.
So yeah, Jamo, obviously, to us it's obvious, Reading fan. What do you think of your chances this season then, Jamo, in the Championship? Because, you know, we're not interested in Championship anymore. You have to fill us in.
Yeah, I like that. Just as a reminder. It's been a great start. 2 wins from 2. I don't think anyone expected that. But I think it's a little bit, I don't know. Don't want to get our hopes up, basically, because I didn't think we'd have a very good season. There's been like a lot of unrest at the club, a lot of change at boardroom level, and obviously the manager just got replaced sort of on a whim. A couple of weeks before the season started, so it's been a bit of a interesting time to be a Reading fan. But you know, like last season was our best finish for however many years, and we finished 14th, so I think that says a lot. But I think, to be fair, before the season started, I would have said that survival would be a good season. So it kind of just shows how high we're aiming, really, as a club.
Very ambitious.
Shane Long.
Yeah, Shane Long. And Kevin Doyle. Kevin Doyle, remember him? He were an awesome player.
Yeah, he was very. They had a decent strike force back then.
Yeah, those were the days. But Daz, to answer your question, we brought in Ovia Jaria permanently. Had him on loan for the last 18 months.
He was quality money.
Yeah, we had him on loan last season, and there was an agreement to sign him permanently. It's about 3.5 million, but then obviously because of lockdown and everything, obviously everyone's finances are a bit up in the air, so we had to delay the deal in order to scrape money together to get him, and we just about managed to do it. But you know, he's one of our best players, so glad that happened. And then we've signed another centre mid from Shrewsbury called Josh Laurent. And I've never seen anything of him. I've heard a bit about him. He's supposedly Shrewsbury's best player. I mean, it says a lot. It's bloody Shrewsbury, isn't it, in League One?
Bit surprised.
Who's
it came from there, didn't he? Dele Alli.
Well, yeah. Kamar Roof came from Oxford, didn't he, when we signed
him? Dele Alli.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, he seems like a decent player. His contract ran out at Shrewsbury, and we bought him in on a free. The previous manager brought him in and said he's been an admirer of him for a long time. So, yeah, he seems to have done all right. And then we've got a couple of loan deals in the pipeline, from what I understand. Hopefully, we'll get those done this week, and then just strengthen the squad.
How good is
Pukas? He's
because I want him to be brilliant. Is he rubbish? I always wanted him to be fantastic. You spent a bit on him as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it's about 8.5 million from Inter we spent on him. But it's so funny because last season, at the start of the summer, the board were like, don't expect much. We got no money. I mean, we've struggled financially for a number of years now, but we haven't really got a lot of money. Obviously, we have to be careful of financial fair play. And then in the space of 3 days, they go and splash, 15 million on 2 new strikers between him and Zhao. So everyone's just a bit like, okay.
Did he balance it out with sales, or...?
Not really, no.
That's a bit odd, isn't it?
That's why we released a load of players in the summer. Literally, we've released so many first-team players. Reading's problem is they paid extortionate wages for a team that doesn't really make any money. So that's always been our downfall, really.
Because it seemed like a little bit of a statement of intent. I remember when you signed them, and it was just kind of like, they're a team to watch now because of the window, and then obviously just never seemed to kick on from that point. Like you say, last season, finishing where you did with what you spent, you wouldn't want that at all, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because on paper we've got a fantastic team. On paper we should be right up there, but obviously football doesn't work on paper, does it? But I know we played Sheffield Wednesday first game of last season, and Lucas Zhao came on for 10 minutes and he was brilliant, and then scored a really good goal, and then we go inside him. And then obviously Puskás has been like a bit of a, almost sort of like a bit of a hidden gem wonder kid in a way. You hear loads of good stuff about him. He's done well for the Romanian youth teams at international.
He's got a great family name, hasn't he?
Exactly, yeah. So, you kind of expected a bit from him. And I think in one of his first games, he absolutely tore Cardiff apart, scored 2 goals. We were sensational.
That, yeah.
And you just think, okay, we mean business now, and then it just all fell apart. so,
So what do you
And
put
then
that down to then?
sorry,
What do you put it down to? Why did it fall apart? Just
I don't know. Like the managers we've had, I think I saw a stat the other day. You remember Sonny Aluko?
Mm.
Was
Yeah.
absolute world beater at Fulham, and then we signed him, and for us, he's been absolutely awful. But he's been at the club 3 years now, and he's had 5 different managers.
it's
He
never a
was
good sign, is
brilliant
it?
as well. Such a good, tricky winger.
Yeah. At Fulham, I remember, especially the year when we had Yap Stammer, we finished in the playoffs, and obviously we played Fulham twice in the season, and we had them in the playoffs as well. So we saw Luco a few times, and he was superb. He played in the number 10 role and was just like he was running the game really. But then the sort of our troubles really started after Stam. Like we had an unbelievable first season. It's kind of like the style of play isn't similar to Bielsa, but had an impact in a similar way. Is that like we played football in a way that no one could cope with, and we did so much better than we should have done. Obviously, got to the playoff final. We were one penalty kick away from the Premier League, and it all went wrong. And then the second season, teams found out how to play against us. Stam had no plan B, so then he got the sack, and then it's just been a succession of managers. I think we had Paul Clement after that, and that was crap. And then we've had we had a Portuguese guy in called Jose Gomez. And I liked what he did. I liked the way he tried to play, but he was quite naive in his tactics, especially defensively. And he just got the chop. And then now Mark Bowen, his first proper manager's job after being Mark Hughes' number 2 for however many years. Bowen did a good job. I mean, like I said, 14th is the best we finished in a number of seasons.
And you were struggling at one point, weren't you? You're down there.
Yeah. I think when Gomez got sacked last year, it was like around October, November time. We were in the relegation zone. And then Bowen come in, and he's just like old school manager, like sorts out the defense first, and then we go from there. And it made a real difference, and we became a decent team. And then, he just got sort of undercut this summer, really.
Right, so obviously, Jamie, we know obviously a bit about Reading now. What about yourself? What are you all about?
I mean, I'm just a dude. No, I'm currently at university. I'm a sports journalism student at Derby. Bit older than your average student, but we got there in the end. But it took me a long time to get to this point. I've wanted to be involved in football in a number of ways, and then that's sort of I had that realization when I was younger. I was like, okay, what do I want to do? And I love football, so that's to be involved in that would be amazing. Obviously, at that point, wasn't I'm not the best player, so it's probably a bit late. I'm not going to be the next Chris Smalling and come out of non-league at 27 or whatever it is. So I thought, okay, let's try and do like management or coaching or something. And I started doing that. Worked at Reading for a couple of years, maybe, just stuff like that.
I never knew that.
Yeah. I used to be the mascot. Well, I say used to be. I was the mascot for one game already.
All right. I thought you were going to say like you did some like under like 12s or something. But...
That was last year.
When I worked there, just one. I remember we played Bournemouth at home, and the guy who normally does it couldn't make it into work that day or whatever, so needed a replacement. So shoved me in the costume, and that was a bit of a laugh. So did a lot of coaching and stuff like in schools and stuff. But then when it actually came to like doing like FA badges and stuff, I kind of quickly realised I don't really have the personality to do coaching. I'm not one of those sort of people that likes telling people what to do and sort of commanding like getting everyone's attention, keeping it, all that sort of thing. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I just sort of started working, and I was like, a couple of years later, I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Football again. Okay, can't play, can't coach. Let's just write about it then. So they, then took the steps to come to uni, and that's where I am now, really.
What about your media involvement?
Oh yeah, so a part of the as part of the course, they encourage you to go to like as many games as possible. Just go out, go watch stuff, write about it, and just gain experience. So we're luckily enough that the tutors, the lecturers are like all sort of ex-professionals. Like they've come from the media, so they know what they're talking about. They've got links as well. And my main lecturer last year, I mean, he's a really nice guy, and he's got really good links. So they sort of try and help you get into clubs and stuff, into the press boxes. I've been fortunate enough to be in a press box a few times. Met Chris Kamara last year, so that was a good laugh. But yeah, no, it's just going to watch any game of football is really really good. But seeing it from that different aspect, obviously seeing a match day in a different way because you're so used to going as a fan, but going to work at a football game is a really special feeling because obviously you get to watch the game, but then you get all the you get nice things. You go into the press box, you get fed, you can chat to people, whatever, and then you watch the game, sit there and write about it, and then afterwards like press conferences and stuff. So yeah, it's a really good experience. And like I said, I've been fortunate to be places. I went to Barnsley last season, and they put on the best spread.
We like to eat a lot up north. So.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
well, it was amazing. Like, I mean, to be fair, the facilities weren't great. The press room was a little porta cabin, but you make do with what you got. Just walked in, and there was literally 3 boxes of pies just on the table. Like, help yourself. So I was straight involved. Literally, bag down, meat and tatey pie, straight in, no questions.
Sounds about right for a northern club.
yeah.
Yeah. They actually have a really nice press box as well. Whereas I've been to I went to Birmingham a couple of times last season. That's really good. And yeah, got to, some of the managers as well, like Pep Clotet at Birmingham last season. He's a really nice guy. It was a bit, bit sad for him when he lost his job, but that's football. Gerhard Struber as well at Barnsley is, that saying, you don't want to cross anyone in a dark alley. You wouldn't even want to cross him in a press conference. Literally, he will rip your head off. It's not even funny. He's scary, but that's kind of a good thing in a way.
Keeps people on the toes, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then it's like he's brilliant as well. He just rocked, like he was stood on the touchline on Saturday at Reading, and he looked like he turned up, as a fan. He's just there in jumper and jeans, like, yeah, cool, what's going on?
Had a couple
Ainsworth's
of
like
two pinters in each hand.
Ainsworth looked like he just turned up for a rock gig every single time.
Gareth Ainsworth, yeah, Wickham.
I mean, yeah, I do YouTube as well. Got my own little channel going, and look, I don't upload as much as I should probably really. I've just started doing like a sort of couple of videos, like not too dissimilar to this really. I know, like, I don't, I haven't got a podcast where I talk to people about football and stuff, but I've just been like, I did a video about Bale last week, just sort of talking about that, just because like I want to, as well as helping for uni, just sort of like put discussion things out there and just sort of give my thoughts on it and everything. So before that, I just like play Football Manager or whatever. But now I want to sort of include something a little bit different. So
yeah,
I think it's all base improvement, isn't it? You've got to be in it to start with, and I think the more and more you do stuff, the more and more you're in front of camera and you're doing different bits and bats, just the more and more comfortable you become with it. And you've got to start somewhere. Everybody does it.
yeah,
I think getting out there and doing new stuff like that, I think was brilliant. I watched the Bale video. I'm looking forward to talking about it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Like one of the reasons that I started doing the channel as well is because I knew this is what I wanted to do in terms of like journalism and football and stuff. So I sort of just started it, and initially I didn't have a face camera, I just spoke, but just sort of getting used to talking to, well, essentially when you're doing a video, you're not talking to anyone, but just putting opinions out there, putting yourself out there. And then, like got a camera, and to start with, just so nervous because you really are putting yourself out there when people can see you and stuff. But just growing comfortable with that, growing comfortable with, just talking and hopefully people listening. And like I've Twitch streamed a little bit, which obviously helps as well. Haven't done that massively, but that's good fun. And it's, just all all practice really. Because when I went to uni, the idea was I wanted to sort of get into more like the broadcast side of journalism. I thought that would be more interesting. Turns out from my grades, I'm much better at writing rather than actually doing the broadcast stuff. So, obviously YouTube hasn't worked as well as I'd hoped, but nevertheless.
YouTube is a very big, wide pool.
Yeah,
A lot of people that are doing exactly the same thing. And if anything, it's a good outlet, right? It's a good outlet for you to, one, get yourself out there, get your opinions, voice your opinions. I think it's massive when you've got opinions in your head to actually voice them, or in a specific way where you might put it down on paper. Obviously, to voice your opinion, I think is great. And Twitch and YouTube and mediums like that really help people in that sense, because it's good to be able to get your opinions out there and to talk about stuff, especially with football, because it's such an opinionated and opinion-based sport, probably more than any sport, that to get that out there and to have healthy conversations about the sport, I think is fantastic. And like I said, I watched the video. I thought you did a really good job. I enjoyed it. There was some information in there that I didn't know to start with. So that's all you want from your videos, really, don't you? I think whenever we upload a video, or I do a video, or and the rest of the boys, you just want to provoke somebody to question maybe what you've said, and whether it be a good opinion or a bad opinion about what they think about what you said, at least to have an opinion. And I think it was really good.
Thanks.
Right, well, I suppose, shall we get into talking about this weekend's games so far? Obviously, still one ongoing at the minute, which is Wolves against Man City. I'm pretty sure Matt will be keeping a beady eye on that one, I guess. Because I had it on, but it was causing a little bit of lag, so what I have done is I've knocked it off, so I'll be relying on you, unfortunately. Well, fortunately, should I say. Right, so should we start off with Chelsea against Liverpool? It was a little bit of, dare I say controversy with the red card. It was initially given as a yellow card. Obviously, well, it was given as a yellow card, and then they pulled it back for a red card. I think it probably was the right decision in the end, but it's just the initial thought of why it was given as a yellow card in the first place. Obviously, Chelsea got beat 2-0. The sending off, I felt, changed the game because it was 0-0 at the time. Didn't seem to be much in it. But what are your guys' thoughts?
Well, Chelsea spent how much money and didn't try and attack Liverpool, and Leeds United spent, 80 and tried to attack Liverpool. You can't buy that amount of attacking talent and just not try and attack. Come on, Lampard, give us some. You're right. It was a red. There's no way it wasn't a red. The problem is when you look at it, is they judged the red on the fact that Mane would get to the ball, and he would have done. I've got no doubt that Mane probably would have got to that ball, probably would have rounded the keeper and scored because it's Kepa. But at the end of the day, if that's a different striker, do you still judge it upon the same, would he get to the ball? Or do you always go with in favour of the striker? I mean, it were a rugby tackle.
Yeah.
In a pretty clear-cut chance. And, I think the yellow card was given, and we'll see it be given more often because you can go and look at it. And I think it's easier to overturn a yellow than to take back a red. So I think we will see a lot more. Well, I'd like to hope that we see a lot more yellow cards in that situation, and then the referee goes and looks and sees, it was a red card in that situation. But I wasn't impressed with Chelsea. I want to be impressed with Chelsea because I love the players they've signed. I don't agree with how he's playing Werner. I think he wants to play off a striker. I don't know. They didn't look good against Liverpool, and this was a real opportunity. I would have seen this Liverpool game as a free hit. No one knows how you're going to perform. No one knows if you're going to beat them. Just go out there and try and attack them. I don't think Chelsea's defence is good enough to try and be stout defensively against a team as good as Liverpool going forward.
I don't know. I think Chelsea are going to take a bit of time to gel. I did mention it, I think it was last week. I think if Frank starts struggling, I think he could be in deep water. My personal opinion is, I know people say that he's building up for this, they're building a manager as well as a team, and he's trying to build the team, and all this. But I just don't see. I don't know. I'd like to think that Van Lampard can do something with Chelsea, but in the back of my head, there's something saying. Through seeing bits and bats of the game, I didn't personally think Chelsea were anything. I had them down as one of the 3 teams or 4 teams I mentioned in the last podcast that I feared as a Leeds fan this year. play that against us, I think it could be a complete different story. But again, you don't know what Chelsea's going to come out of the blocks. I mean,
The missing
suppose-
players as well.
Yeah, I suppose-
Thiago
No
Silva,
Silva.
Chilwell, Ziyech. They are missing players. That's why I felt it was a free hit, because if they had attacked, no one would have turned around and said, if Chelsea had lost 2-0, but really thrown themselves at the game.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's the performance. that
when they
probably
get the
lets them.
team, fully fit and everybody's back in that's when you're going to see how good Chelsea really are or could be. I mean, that keeper error that led to Liverpool's goal. I don't know whether he just thought he was on Liverpool's team or.
It can get worse for him, though, can it? It just
I
can't.
don't
70
actually know
million.
Everything he
70
touches, isn't
million.
it? Everything he touches just turns to shite.
Yeah,
I think the Mendy deal's done now, so I think
fine.
Kepa's
Yeah.
going to be put in a bunker somewhere where they keep him hidden, so that Chelsea fans forget that they spent 70 million on him, and just can try and focus on the 20 million pound goalkeeper that is now saving them. It's really, really bad.
The funny thing about it is that's where they got Petr Cech from as well, wasn't it?
Same team,
I've
is
seen
it?
I've seen a few Chelsea fans saying last time they bought somebody from wherever it is that they're buying
Slavia
it from.
Prague.
I can't remember.
It's Ren, isn't it?
No,
Oh,
it's a French
oh.
team. It's
Oh,
not
we're
where they got
French.
Peter Cech
Sorry,
from.
I don't even know. What
I'm
it is.
Yeah.
sure I saw someone on Twitter that some Chelsea
Ren.
fans were saying, last time we bought a keeper from this team.
I think Petr Cech played for Rennes, did it?
I thought it was Ren.
It is. It's Mendy from Rennes.
Yeah, yeah.
Goalkeeper.
Sorry, my bad.
Roughly
I don't know where I
21.
got Slavia Prague from. Unless you went from there to Rennes, I don't know. But we haven't been checking and that. I thought it checked out. If you pardon the pun. So, but
He played for Rennes. He played for Rennes. Did check, didn't he?
I don't know, mate. You tell us.
Yeah. Yeah, he played for. I thought so. I'd seen someone on Twitter earlier about some Chelsea fans saying the last time we signed a keeper from Rennes, it turned out quite well, and they were like a smiley face of Petr Cech going like that.
Well, they won't sign another one from Bilbao, though, will they?
probably not. No, bloody hell.
But
Do you
yeah,
think?
yeah,
You think the
Petr
amount
Cech
of
played
money?
for-
Do you think the amount of money played on Kepa's mind? You know how much they paid? Because they say that, don't they? Like, does a fee dictate what's?
Goalkeeping surely has to have a level of confidence, right? Surely has to be heavily confidence based. I think if you make a few mistakes, it's always in the back of your mind when you find yourself in that situation again. And he's made mistakes playing out from the back, and they continue to play out from the back. So I think it plays on his mind, especially against some of the bigger, quicker players. He doesn't move the ball quick enough, and that's why Mane caught him out. And
You can't do that against Liverpool.
no, you
Not
can't.
like
You
that.
can't. And I think every time a long distance shot comes in, he's panicking in his head already because he's conceded so many. I think there were a stat which is ridiculous that he conceded so many from long shots. It's probably his confidence. You don't spend 70 million on an absolute dud unless they were trying to do some oil deal in Bilbao or something. So I think, and when he came, he was very highly rated. He weren't having a bad time at Bilbao, so I could see him going back there, though, to be fair, because he's Basque.
True enough, yeah. Your thoughts on it, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I agree largely with what, Matt and Daz have already said. Chelsea, even with 11 men, they just started very passive and they didn't look dangerous at all. You always thought, even 11 against 11, that Liverpool would go on and win the game. Obviously you mentioned Kepa, the disaster for the second goal. Although what impressed me with the second goal was Mane himself. He played that pass and he lost the ball and he jumped up in the air and you could see he was so angry at himself for giving away the ball, and then he chased it down and, paid dividends for him. The first goal was really good work, really well worked as well. Really good header. And the penalty as well, the Chelsea penalty. I mean, it looked a bit harsh. I mean, I don't think Thiago meant to trip him up. Obviously, it's just sort of they come across each other and he's clipped him. And it is a penalty, but, it is a little bit harsh. But I was kind of glad that Jorginho missed the penalty just because of the bloody run-up. That run-up's so stupid. It's
We've seen so many people do it and miss it as well, which is what's crazy. It's like so many people have missed it doing that silly run-up, but they just keep doing it.
Yeah.
I think they're them,
just
wouldn't you?
bizarre.
For everything Chelsea did bad, we always have to remember it's easy not to talk about Liverpool because Liverpool were good. Surprise, surprise. They're probably going to be good week in, week out. So it's easy not to. But like Jim said, Mane is on another planet, and Liverpool are the best team in the Premiership in the world at doing transfer business. Because when you look at what they've spent on their players, is very impressive, and what they've recouped as well, you just can't knock them. You
It's
really
massive.
can't knock them. I'm glad they did well this week because I said they'd win the league, and everyone was slagging them off after the Leeds game, and they did. I thought they did very well defensively as well against Chelsea.
Yeah, there's a massive debate in there at the moment that people are saying Mane is better than Salah. And I think it's bang on split 50-50. I don't know.
It's a good debate.
If one's playing
really
badly,
is.
other one generally plays awesome, don't they? It happened with us.
I mean, it's
Mane was
fullback,
poor against us, wasn't it? And Salah were awesome, and then obviously Salah were quite quiet, I would say. He did a little bit. He did a little bit, but then Mane stepped up.
All over the pitch, yeah.
And it generally happens.
The team has got Liverpool team it's got so much competition all over the place. Even when you look at the right back and left back, they constantly strive to get that assist.
Well, I think centre back's an issue, isn't it? I mean, although I was extremely impressed with Fabinho, because Timo Werner is an handful. No matter where you're playing him on the pitch, him running at you, he was a handful. And Fabinho dealt with him quite a few times in a one-on-one situation. I know he's played there before for Monaco, but everyone's just seen him in England and gone, is this centre mid? They're really weak at centre back. That's going to be really bad for him today. I thought he played really well. I was screaming that they needed a new centre back.
Yeah,
Got an abundance of midfielders. If Fabinho can fit in there, he looked good against a strong attack.
Yeah. And they've got enough midfielders to cover if he drops back in anyway.
All right.
You know, so yeah, I mean, obviously, Chelsea had a lot of work to do. Like you said, they've got Silva and Chilwell to come in, so I have to wait and see. Give them 5-6 games or so and see how they're doing then. Is what I'd probably say about Chelsea. But a lot of people.
Line up different.
I'm going to say, sorry, say again.
You just want to see him line up different.
Basically, you just want. Well, everyone's thinking, they could challenge, and like you said, they had a chance to just go all out and try and just do something. Like you said, free hit. Exactly, free hit. Try and upset the apple cart a little bit, and as it turns out, it just seemed like a comfortable win for Liverpool, and it just shows even despite I know it's early days, but even despite spending all that money, there's still a massive gap, a massive gulf between. I'm going to say probably Man City as well, but Man City and Liverpool and Chelsea, you would think would probably finish third this season.
I think it showed where Lampard is tactically, because I watched a lot of Leipzig, and every time Werner played off Poulsen, he was unbelievable, and Poulsen got to pull the strings up top, caused a lot of problems, and left Werner. It gave you something to think about. I don't think he can play up top on his own. I think he played Havertz on the right or the left, which I imagine you've got Ziyech to come back, you've got Pulisic to come back, so they've got some great players to come back. But I think he needs to change he needs to learn quickly what the system is going to be with all these new players he's signed. I think he played Mount on the right, and Havertz on the left. I don't see Havertz on the left, and Mount is okay on the right. He played really well, did Mount, but they, for me, are three players that are going to come forward. And when you've got Alonso as your left back, it's not great, is it? It's not fantastic. So I really think he needs to figure out how he's going to manage all these players now. He's got a lot of top-tier talent. There's no doubt about it. How are they all going to fit into this team? And I thought tactically, he just got it all wrong.
Yeah, one thing that did stick out to me from that game is I think it was 0-0. It was a rare chance for Chelsea. And it was Kante that got on the end of it. And he had a chance to shoot, and for some reason he turned around and ended up going all the way back to chuffing defender or keeper. And that would just summed up the performance. And
people hated Sarri for playing like that, and they played exactly like when Sarri was there.
So do you think they went out with damage limitation to start off with?
It came across
that way
on the counter. They wanted to hit with the pace on the counter with Mount's pretty quick, good footwork. Havertz the same, and so was Werner. So I think that was probably the mindset. Let's hit on the counter. I would have preferred to have seen a Tammy up there, knock the ball long. He can knock it down to Werner. You've got Havertz there. They can interchange. I just felt like tactically he did get it wrong. You've got Fabinho on the pitch, who's playing centre-back for the first time in a long, long time. Get someone strong like Tammy in there to cause him a problem, or it just seemed like they didn't do that. I don't think Liverpool's defence struggled really much at all, apart from maybe the penalty and the odd Timo Werner run.
I'd agree with
that.
And
Liverpool have added to their attack, haven't they, with Jota? So
he's a
right sign.
He's a great addition under Klopp, because you've seen how they break at Wolves. Imagine what it's going to be like when they win the ball back on the press with Jota there.
Do you think he'll rotate with Firmino?
Fan sometimes.
Do you think he'll rotate?
I think he's going to have to rotate, and I think he's learned his lesson now that you can't play the same team week in, week out, not with the Champions League. And if they want to have a cup run as well, you just can't do that. And if you want to retain the title, you need that competition for places. And if I was Mane, Salah, and Firmino, I'd look at Jota as someone who could come in and probably not do as well as them, but could slot into one of those positions. We don't know how good Jota is yet. We just know how good he was at Wolves. We don't know how good he's going to be at a top team. He's got all the potential, though, to shock everyone. Like when they signed Mane from Southampton. We knew he was good at Southampton. We had no idea he was going to be as good as this. I think Jota's really got that potential, if played right.
So I suppose we can move on to Man United against Palace.
Yeah, let's do it.
Who saw this result? Who saw this result coming? 2-0 Man City at the time. How far are we in? What is it? Oh, it's about half an hour in.
2 minutes.
Yeah. So, Man United 1, Palace 3. Bit of a shocker in terms of the VAR for the penalty. And then obviously some further controversy with the old retake as well. But I think that, by letter of the law, I think that might have been seen as correct. But the handball itself were a joke for me. I don't know what you guys think. The
question is with the handball, though. The problem with that is, by the letter of the law, it's handball. So we can say, I hate VAR, it's wrong, but it's the rule that's wrong. I don't agree with it. I don't think it was handball. But by the rules, that was handball. The same as, if that's handball, Robin Cox was handball as well. And we've seen a few of those situations now, but it's still inconsistent, as we saw one in the Arsenal game, I think, that weren't given, and that was handball.
Yeah.
So your problem is it's still inconsistent, but by the letter of the law, it was handball. And on the retake, he was off the line. Both feet were off the line. If that is the rules, they've been followed correctly. And my problem is with the rules. I think he's the tiniest bit off the line. And I don't, as much as it pains me, I don't think it was really a fair handball. But one got given against us, and by the letter of the law, it was a handball. And people complained that the kick was retaken by a different taker. If it's a retake, then the kick has never happened. So you can pick whoever you want to take the kick. That's how the rules work.
Yeah.
We might not like the rules, and I don't like a lot of the rules, but these are the new rules. So going out there and going, the refs are crap. They're doing rubbish. I hate it. The refs, VAR, it's rubbish. It's not. It's working by the rules. We just don't like the new rules.
You want to say it once more for us?
Rules.
What are your guys' thoughts on it, Des, JMO?
I personally believe Man United's defence and keeping situation at the moment is a shambles. For the team that they're supposed to be, they need better, don't they? If I were a Man United fan, I'd be worried this season. I really would. I know people said at the beginning, Bruno pushed them on last season. They've signed, Beak, and they've got Pogba. But we've spoken about it off camera and on previous ones.
I'm sick of talking about Pogba. He's rubbish.
Yeah,
well, he did good for France and N'Golo Kante. Oh, he did good at Juve, Pirlo. Oh, he's doing rubbish at Man United, McTominay.
That's it. It's one of those where we've spoken about. They ain't going to play in the same team, are they? We've said this time and time again. They're not going to play in the same team. So please, Man United fans, get that out your head, because
it's not so bad for Man United, though, is it? It's just a fact.
Yeah, it's one of those. I mean, Man United's goal. Well, just a simple goal, wasn't it? Really, right.
It was scrappy, wasn't it? It was a good finish, but it was scrappy. Yeah, wasn't well worked.
I thought Palace's first goal, I wasn't sure at first that Zaha might have handballed it when he brought it down. So he kind of leant into it with his, I think, running down wing. So with this one, he kind of leant into it a bit and then kind of pulled away, I thought at first. But he got the cross and Townsend finished it off. And,
what I get as you kind of nailed that movement. It was like watching it on live. What was
like that proper dance moves, isn't it?
But I think his
pub on a Friday
night.
I think the third goal for Palace, I thought was a well taken goal by Sam. We've said this: if they can keep hold of Zaha, they'll probably finish mid-table ish.
We were 50-50, weren't we? We said I could see Palace going down if they lost Zaha.
I had them bottom.
I think I had them in the bottom three.
I had them bottom, me.
On the idea that Zaha left.
Yeah.
And we all said if Zaha stayed, nowhere. He was brilliant again.
Yeah. They all look dangerous. Too much.
They're so quick on the break. Look at some of the players they've got.
Yeah.
Going on the break, whether it be Schlupp or Van Aanholt when he's playing, and you've got Zaha, Ayu's not slow. Eze looks like he could be adding something different. And the two centre mids.
I'm going to say two Maccas.
Organised. I'm not going to say the names because it's McCarthy and MacArthur, and I don't know which one is which.
One's a Ginner, one's got dark hair, I think.
Well, we know Palace are organised, don't we? And we said it last week when we talked about Southampton. Palace go 1-up. They're going to be a struggle to get a goal against. They went 1-up, and then Man United are so bad defending and bad going forward. I as a Leeds fan, it pains me to say good things about Man United, but the way they ended the season made me think Man United would finish top 4. The way they played against Palace was just like watching it was like watching someone at the park. They were completely disjointed. They had nothing going forward. Martial, poor, again, goes missing. You need a striker. Why are you trying to spend 120 million on Jadon Sancho, who is not going to come to you? Sign a striker. Like, I don't understand it. You can't finish enough chances. Sign a striker.
And a defence.
Stop signing offensive midfielders. You've got Bruno. I don't know. I think it's Ollie. I think you put a different manager in there, you could probably get different results. I hate to say it for him, but I think you're managing a lot of big egos in there. You're managing a high level of pressure for you to do well. And you're being supported by a backroom that, for some strange reason, don't seem to commit to backing him by signing players. I think Donny is a brilliant player, fantastic signing. If Man United has signed him, as well as other key additions, whether it be another left back, a centre back, and a striker, not another winger, a striker, then you would be saying Donny was a great piece to the puzzle. But looking at it, they haven't really done the business. I'd be worried as a Man United fan. I think they're going to struggle if they don't make some moves.
Outside on that, Jamo?
Not really. I think, it's the game that on the face of things, you'd expect United to win. And, like the guys have alluded to, Palace, if they get that goal, they're always going to sit in. That's exactly what they did. It was a great finish, I thought, from Townsend to hit it back across De Gea. The way he's come in made it so hard for him. But yeah, like they said, as soon as Palace get that goal, they're going to sit in. They're structured. They know what they're doing. But, United had some chances. It was they weren't. They had a lot of the ball and had chances. I remember Greenwood had a really good chance, had a header. He completely missed the target. Should have done so much better. But yeah, no, I think United they'll do all right, but I think they'll finish 4th. I think that's what they'll do this year. But I thought if they could continue the form sort of post lockdown into this season, then they would be a threat. But it's already been said the defense is absolutely 6s and 7s at the best of time. So they'll score goals, but they'll concede loads as well, and that is their downfall. I think. Matt said they need a striker. I think I actually said to someone that I reckon Martial could be top goal scorer this season. Kind of already regretting that already.
But he could be. He could be. But
Yeah,
he's the
I just
best
thought-
of a bad bunch.
Yeah, I just thought because of the way they played last year, I just thought if they carry that on, they'll score goals for fun. Him, Rashford, Bruno loves a penalty, and Man United always seem to get a load of them. So he'll finish on 20 probably this season. So yeah, like Matt said, it's defensively where they're looking suspect. So I'd be interested to see as well if at any point Henderson gets a run in the team and to see how he does, because I seriously thought he could start the season the way De Gea finished last season. I seriously thought Henderson could come in and make a claim for the jersey straight away, but he's obviously back De Gea. It wasn't a bad performance necessarily from De Gea. He hasn't made any I don't think he made many, if any, mistakes.
He's not done a Kepa.
Yeah, exactly.
I think for 3 goals, he didn't do anything really. I mean, there was no stopping the second and the third and the first one. And, he did save a penalty, and it's always hard to save 2 back-to-back, isn't it? Whether it's agreed that people thought the decision was right or not, it's hard to go back-to-back. Yeah. So, surely it's only a matter of time for Henderson, though. But if you think they're going to finish top 4, who do you think's when you look at that 4th place for me at this stage, you've got Man United, Arsenal now, Tottenham, and Everton. For me, they're my 4. Do you think Man United will be better than those teams?
I think so. I just think because, like I said earlier, I think United, once they find their feet, they will just score goals. And I think it will be, most of their season will be a case of, rather than, all right, we're winning 2-0, let's manage the game, they will just outscore opponents. I think that will just be the majority of how their games go this season.
One last thing, I'll just mention about Man United before we move on to the next game. Basically, I can't get over the fact that Wan-Bissaka didn't play against his former team. I think he went for Fosu Mensah instead, I believe. And I don't know. I mean, as far as aware, he wasn't, but I'm led to believe anyway. But otherwise, there's Luke Shaw at left back. I mean, he's been there 6 or 7 years now. I know he's had the broken leg in between, but is he the answer for left back? Do they need to get someone else in at left back?
Like a star left back, but I don't think Luke Shaw's bad. In like the grand scheme of left backs, I don't think Luke Shaw's bad.
You're going to say
There's been a lot of talk about them signing Alex Telles, isn't there?
Yeah, there was
It
talk
could be
about
a real statement.
Yeah. It's hard for Leeds fans to talk about left backs when we've got Dallas. So for me, I now have this new philosophy when it comes to players that if you think they can play there, give them that chance.
And that was
Well, you still got to prove it, though, haven't you?
Yeah, you still got to prove it to some point, but you've got to give him the chance for him to be able to prove it, don't you?
I
He's had 7 years.
I'm going to say, well, exactly, yeah. I mean, how long do you need? But other thing I did forget to mention as well, which you just reminded me there, I don't know why, but Dan James played as well instead of Greenwood or, anyone else.
Last game before his big transfer.
That's what I was thinking. He's rumoured to, isn't he?
Greenwood is not the answer.
No.
Greenwood is the answer in 3 seasons. Greenwood is not the answer now. The guy's 18. He's already making mistakes and his ego's getting too big for himself. He needs to be grounded. Someone needs to take him under the wing and ground him and play him like they used him last season, maybe a little bit more. But if you put Greenwood now in that Man United team and say to him, you're our star striker, it's too soon. And it'll be another English talent that we ruin because we've just chucked them in the deep end. He needs to be managed correctly, and I felt like that was done last season. And he looked very, very good when he did have his performances, which rose his stock. And I think ease him in a little bit more this season. I mean, if you liken it, although it's rivalry, to Phil Foden at Man City, the way he's been eased into the Man City setup, and now looking at how good he's improving, scored tonight as well, by the way, Greenwood needs to be the same. It's not that long since he did his GCSEs. He needs to be eased in gently. You can't just go, there you go, you're the best we've got at this moment in time. He looks like he could be a real great player, and from an England standpoint, I don't want him to be pushed too quickly and then it just all go to his head or it all fall apart.
Well, you'd think with Solskjaer being the manager at Man United that he would know exactly how to manage a striker, because
he's a striker.
He was born and bred a striker with Solskjaer.
He was a super sub.
Yeah, but you'd still think that he would have the knowledge from his career in a whole, not just at Man United, but on a whole,
and where can we
to be able to guide him and say, look, this is what, the game might have changed, but this is the way that I think you'd be better coming in. Like you say, with Phil Foden, Man City, perfect example. Look at him now. Is becoming a far superior player to players like Greenwood. And I don't think there's much age between them.
I think he's been a little bit older, probably 2 years. Is it 21?
Yeah. Greenwood's what, 18?
Yeah, he's just gone 18.
Yeah, so there's a couple of years between them, but I think in 3 years' time, I don't think Greenwood will be better than Foden.
So moving on then, on to the next game, which is Arsenal against West Ham. It was 2-1. And you know what? Despite all the turmoil that West Ham seemed to find themselves in, I thought they played quite well and were very unlucky to lose. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought West Ham were worthy of a point, I think, to be honest. They they started the game well. Arsenal started pretty slow. One thing I noticed as well, because this was one of the games I actually watched a lot of over the weekend, how poor Arsenal were in possession to start with. So many times they gave the ball away, especially Xhaka. I noticed that 3 times in a matter of 10, 20 minutes, gave the ball away in really silly areas. But, they grew into the game and, West Ham were much better than they were last week. Against Newcastle, they were awful and they really stepped up in this game. But, the goal, very contentious offside. It was given. Lovely ball in from Aubameyang, though, just to lift it over the defenders. And Lacazette unmarked in the area, slots it away. The penalty, I know we mentioned it in the when we were talking about the
VAR thing.
was it the Chelsea game when we mentioned it? But yeah, you know, similar to Lindelof's really, if not maybe arguably a bit more of a penalty, I would say, just because Lindelof's like, you know, there's nothing he can do about it really because it's just been flicked up into his arm. Whereas with Gabriel, he sort of led for the header, completely missed it, and it hit him on the arm. So for me, that was more of a penalty.
Well, they said a really weird statement, didn't they?
It's about a sleeve, didn't they?
If
Oh
it
yeah,
is
it's
your
talking about a
sleeve,
t-shirt length.
it's not
or something.
handball. So,
and what about if you wear long sleeves in winter?
Yeah,
you know
people
what I mean?
have higher. I think that were a bit poor. I agree with that. I thought it was handball.
But you know, it just shows the lack of consistency in VAR. That's you know,
That's what makes it infuriating, isn't it? It's a lack of consistency. If it was one rule and it was straight across the board, I don't think anyone would complain as much. I mean, they'd still complain, but nowhere near as much. It's because of those inconsistencies that people get riled up and kick off and, you know, tweet awful stuff and whatever on social media or whatever. It's just they just need to get it sorted once and for all. Like, you know, like you said, that one is leaning, he's missed it, he's hit his arm. End of the day, he's gone for it, he's missed it, he's hit his arm. It's like you said with Lindelof, he's just running and it's just hit him an arm because he's flicked it up. And that's why people get annoyed. It's like, because it's like some of them are just so obviously a penalty and they're not given. And then others, you're thinking, oh, it's harsh. He can't even do anything. He's got to run around like this. You know, he's got like a fucking pencil.
I still don't think it was in my head. I wouldn't have any of them as a penalty.
Yeah, you're probably not. Yeah, but in terms of go back to what you said earlier,
if
rules.
you're doing one as a pen, the other one's got to be a penalty, hasn't it?
Exactly.
And it's just the inconsistency, and it's the general consumer's knowledge of the rules. And when you keep changing the handball rule, and you keep changing this rule where you could be off the line, and you're changing this, and you're changing that, and if it touches your sleeve, and you're touching that, it's hard to follow what the rules are.
It is, yeah.
Now, basically, the rule is if it hits your arm, and your arm in here, like that, that's it.
Yeah, and we thought we were being contentious, didn't we? But like Robbie Cox last week, we taking a deflection, but even that doesn't matter.
You got to run like penguins nowadays, haven't you?
That's what I mean. So strikers can go like this and challenge for headers and that. Defenders got to jump like that because they're likely to give away a penalty, whereas they're only going to give away a free kick. Are the attackers? That's why it's infuriating.
No, because the attacker still gets penalised, don't it? Because if you score a goal and it's just any way, shape, or form touched your arm, it's not a goal.
Yeah, but there's not as much. Yeah, but it's not as much danger, is there? Because at the end of the day, if you go up and handball it, it's not as though you're giving away a penalty and a free shot goal, are you? Like a defender is.
Well, no, and I think it's how we either get used to it or the rule changes. And I would imagine that because of all the controversy and a lot of footballers coming out saying they don't like the rule, that by 5-10 games in, the handball rule's different.
Can they do that though, or would it be an end of season job?
They've done it before.
What, halfway through a season?
Well, the rule doesn't change, but the common sense changes.
Well, that's what it is. It's common sense.
You'll see a lot less refs giving it. Yeah, but if they're going by the new rules, you can imagine that they turn up and are drilled on the new rules, and they're told, it's your arm, and your arm's not by your side, it's a penalty. But you're the ref. That's what you're there for. That's what you've got to give that. The common sense will come in where refs just go, look, I'm getting so much scrutiny for giving this. I ain't giving them anymore.
I mean, there's a minor positive that they're actually using VAR like we wanted them to do last season, which is actually going and viewing the screen themselves. So
yeah, but now your problem is you've got fans saying, well, are they going and viewing the screen because the VAR ref's saying, I don't know. Which I imagine that is not the case. I imagine the ref said,
if you make a
decision, it's this, go and have a look. But that's what I would imagine the conversation is, not, oh, I'm not sure. Are you sure, Terry? No, I'm not sure either. Well, Bob, should we tell Steve to go and take a look on the pitch because we don't have a clue? I don't think that's the conversation. I think the conversation is, we think it's this. You go take a look for yourself and tell us, then you make your opinion. But we're telling you we think it is. And I think I like that idea. We've seen it in foreign football, and they don't seem to complain about it as much over there. It's just, I suppose, in the English game, we hate all the refs. They're all rubbish. And we don't like the rules. We don't like VAR. And as long as it doesn't go our way, we hate everything. And that's just the fans' mentality over it, though, isn't it? Like it like genuinely is. If it goes for you, you're like, oh yeah, go on VAR, yeah, we deserve that. Like fans that don't like Man United, yeah, definitely a penalty. Yeah, it's about time VAR's used against you. And then if that goes against you, then it's VAR's absolutely crap. So VAR's going to polarize for the entirety of its use. It's in its youth, its infancy, and it just, we just need to get used to it because I don't think it's going anywhere. And the rules need to be improved for VAR. But I would hate to be people are like, there's no good new refs coming through. Would you want to be a ref? Not a chance.
We're changing the game too much. It's not.
We're changing rules to suit VAR though. That's what I think we're doing.
Yeah, for me,
we're trying to make it concrete because there were still decisions that were wrong with VAR because it's left to opinion of the referee. That's what it's left to, isn't it? It's the ref's opinion and the guy who's in the booth doing VAR. So it's still down to opinion. So trying to make the rules so it's concrete, so then it's not down to opinion anymore. And that's the problem. Sport is, and football is controversy, and you need that in the game. Whether we decide to keep VAR or not, I don't think it's a bad thing because then you will lose howlers like we've seen in the past. But I would prefer it to be less structured. I think the more you structure it, the more people are going to be angry because how many penalties are we seeing now? How many decisions are we seeing? Goals ruled off, and then every now and again it works and a goal gets given. So VAR is going to constantly be a topic that everyone talks about. I think as long as it's in use, it always will be, and I think it will continue to be in use. Like Daz is saying, I get it, old school, it's ruining the game, and a lot of people have that mindset. A lot of fans think it's ruining the game until a decision goes against them that's a complete howler, and then they think, well, they should be able to reverse that. And that's what VAR is there for. It's not there to be your enemy. You're going to get some, and you're going to lose some as well. So we either just get used to it. The game's changed. You can't tackle like you could. You can't do a lot of the stuff you used to do. It's much higher scoring, and it's much easier on the eye. And that's just the way football has gone. You wouldn't see right and left backs going forward like we do now, and you wouldn't see the football that we see now back in the day. So it's just going with the times, and people will always fight against that.
With the Arsenal game, I think it's a tale of two, isn't it, really? Because you look at the possession stats, and West Ham were completely dominated with Arsenal possession. Then you look at the shot stats, and Arsenal were dominated by West Ham shots. But then you look at both, and then they're 3 shots each on target. It's I think it's a bit of a concern if you have 14 shots and you're only getting 3 of them on target.
It's fairly common for some teams to have high shots and not get many on target.
And you're paying big money for big signings. If I were a West Ham fan, I'd be looking for at least 7 or 8 on target there with some of the players they've got. I mean, they've got some quality players in midfield and up front.
The money's on the bench.
Well, yeah, we spoke about this last week, didn't we? I mean, the one player I like at West Ham is Jared Bowen. I wish we'd have bought him when we had possibly a chance to. But yeah, again, money on the bench. Would they have won had the money have been on the pitch?
No, because they're not Moyes' players.
Yeah, they're not.
I think that's why they're on the bench. They don't fit in Moyes' system. And I like Jamo said, really unlucky not to get a point. But the players like Felipe Anderson, Haller, players like that are on the bench, they're not his players. They were brought in by, I think, Pellegrini it was. They're not his style of player. So that's why Moyes didn't make sense in the first place, because that's not the kind of player that Moyes is going to get the best out of. Players like Souček and Corners and the big strong players and Antonio, they're who he's going to do well for. And that's why he starts that team. And that's why all the money's on the bench, because they're more flair styles of players. And obviously, Haller just hasn't really found the same feat that he had at Frankfurt. But Moyes probably will never get along with those players in terms of his play style.
Yeah.
The players worth the money actually any good either. I mean, they may not be Moyes' style of players, but Felipe Anderson, since he's been at West Ham, has been awful, to be frank. I think Yarmolenko is a half-decent player, but I know Matt said last week when you were talking about it, he's injury-prone. And Haller as well hasn't stepped up. So, everyone can say 100 million on the bench. Yeah, but you're not going to play it if they're turd, are you?
I think the problem is why are they turd? Because they weren't Felipe Anderson at Lazio was brilliant. Haller at Frankfurt scored for fun and played very well. And, Yarmolenko, anyone could have told you we were injury prone. If you played any kind of football management game, everybody knows he's injury prone because he's brilliant and I've signed him several times, but he's always been injury prone for the longest time. So it was an interesting one to sign. I don't think they paid actually that much for Yarmolenko, but Felipe Anderson looked briefly good for the first season he signed, but we learned very quickly he couldn't score goals. A little bit like Almiron at Newcastle, couldn't find the back of the net, but did all the greatness to get to the net and then wouldn't score. So under maybe the correct manager, they would be good players. I think Felipe Anderson would be brilliant at Wolves, personally. I think he'd suit their play style. I think he'd be great down the wing. He's quick, under the right tutelage. I think he knows Portuguese potentially. I think he'd be decent. But again, it's the right player for the right system. And we'll probably always talk about that. When you change your manager, do the players suit how he plays? And those players definitely do not suit how David Moyes plays.
I think the club's poisoned as well in it at the moment. I think not just on the pitch that they're struggling. I think the fans are struggling with the whole
Gold Sullivan
club.
and Brad.
Yeah, I think I think the board are just there's just no connection there. I mean, I always have to mention these sometimes because there's so much similarities with stuff. The fans, when they're disjointed from the actual club itself, the players know that, they feel that, and I think at West Ham at the moment it's like that. It's become a bit
That's
of
for
a...
the owners and the players as well, though, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
you look
that's
at
what I mean.
Noble with the Grady Dean Garner stuff.
Yeah, if it's so disjointed like that, you're not going to get the results. And like we've said, and we'll probably say it every week, because I don't see West Ham doing a lot this year. I fear for West Ham fans because I can't see how they can, unless the directors left and they got new directors in and they sold the stuff the players that don't want and brought in the did. It's a lot to do in one season, and like I say, as a West Ham fan, I'd be looking at some away games next year, possibly if COVID goes in Championship, because I can't see him staying in Premier League long.
I fear a lot less for them after that performance. If they turn up and perform like that week in, week out, they'll snatch points, and they were very unlucky not to snatch points. They play a lot of big teams now, but I think that's good for them because the after Christmas run will be teams that they will look at that they can beat. So, and if you got a good run in that time period, they're in a complete different position. It's just how long does Moyes stick around in those difficult games? And if you actually look at the games that they're playing, you've got to say to yourself, well, were you expecting to beat these teams? If they keep performing the way they are, I think they could achieve something.
Yeah.
But it's very dependent, isn't it? We've seen them do that now in one game. And I always remember West Ham turn up one week and then next week they're a different team. So,
one thing that's key is, well, keeping Antonio's performances up as well, because he's obviously back into the season, he did very well. Probably, I think they were in danger going down, weren't they? And he just stepped up and got back like 9 goals or something. Run. Yeah, but he's obviously got off the mark against Arsenal, and obviously Nketiah scored. But final thing, I guess, on Arsenal, Aubameyang, I think I pronounced that right, signed a new deal. Highest paid player means he's no longer Ozil that's taking up all the money now. Well, it is, but yeah,
the best bit of business they've done this window.
You think so? Yeah, he's 31 years old. 3 years was it? 3 year deal.
Yeah,
3 year deal.
Look how prolific he was last year.
Yeah, I think he's earned it. I mean, I don't think anyone could say that they've earned $400,000 a week or whatever it is, but
he's earning it now, though.
He is now. He's probably more deserved than any other player at that team to be the highest earner.
Some say his wages have gone up by at least 55 salaries or so.
That's very well put, that Daz. Yeah, I'll give you that.
The thing is, with Arsenal, right, is usually when they don't play well, they fall apart and stumble and don't get a result. They didn't play well and they won. That's a very good sign for them. And since Arteta's been there, they've been proven to be a team that wins. The winners, they've got that winning mentality. They kept going, they got the win, and although they didn't look good, I would say that that's a good sign that they can play badly and still win those kind of games, because they're going to be the tough games. The games against teams like that are going to be physical. They're going to put you under pressure. They're going to cause you problems. And they came away with a victory, came away with 3 points. I can't remember Arsenal doing that for a long time. No. And that's the key. If you can play badly and win, you're going a long way to putting yourself up there. And Arteta's proven that he could win stuff at Arsenal as well.
Yeah, indeed.
I didn't watch too much of Arsenal like when Arteta first took over, because I know he had a bit of a sort of not shaky start, but like he drew a lot of games and lost a couple and stuff. I think the biggest telltale sign for me will be when Arsenal are under pressure, when they maybe go a goal down, whether it's against a run of play or whether they have been dominated, is how they respond. I think especially in like young managers, that's kind of like a thing, like Arteta's learned off Pep, so there's not many better teachers out there. So he'll know how to play all the good offensive football. But it's when your team's up against it, they're a goal down and everything. How do you respond? I think in a young manager that is crucial. And I think if we see a good response from them like that in games where that happens, then I think people will back them a lot more.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I agree, but I think, like you say, when it comes to the responses, that it's just going to take a bit of time. But I thought, like in the FA Cup and the Community Shield as well, when they were up against it a little bit, they played all right. Like you say, you could see over a period of time when he first came into now how he started to develop the team to be more his style of football and more his team. With spending very little, really. When we've been realistic, they haven't spent tons compared to some of the other teams that are in a rebuilding stage. I think if they're smart, they can do a little bit like what a Liverpool have done to a degree, build over a period of time, build with some youth players and some very smart signings. Arteta seems to have a keen eye for a decent player so far. And William were a steal, really, to be honest with you. We all joke about the fact that they made a lot of people redundant, but in terms of the team on the pitch, that's not Arteta's fault. And William's a steal, in my opinion.
Yeah, he did. He played quite well first 2 games.
It's just to do with the Aubameyang thing. When he signed his new contract, I know Arteta came out and said that he turned down some clubs this summer, one of them being Barcelona, because he thinks Arsenal are a better club than Barcelona. I just wonder what people's thoughts were on that.
Well, it's dependent if you're basing it on where he thinks Arsenal are progressing to and where he looks in the media and thinks Barcelona are going. And you could say that one team's going on and up in terms of improving and another team looks like they're having some issues.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's dependent on viewpoint. If you went out and out, what's the better club, what's the better team, you'd always say Barcelona, wouldn't you? But I think if you look at the state that Barcelona are at right now, and you're saying, do you want to be a part of that? I'd be like, I like what we're doing here. I've just won a couple of trophies, and the team's going well. We're playing well. I'm a star. I got Barcelona, and I've got Messi, who doesn't want to be there. He's only there for one more season. In reality, I've got Martin Braithwaite, though.
I'm waiting for it.
I'm going to have Martin Braithwaite there. A good player. Did well for Denmark recently. So I would look. There's pros and cons there. He can play with Braithwaite, play off him. Some great football there. But unfortunately, Messi's probably only going to be there for a year. Suarez is going, and that's some problems, isn't it? I see where he's coming from.
It's good to see a player sort of actually have that attitude as well. I mean, he's 31, so Arsenal probably get a couple more decent seasons out of him, maybe 3. But at that age, the typical football cliche, Barca come knocking. How do you turn it down? But actually, you're right. Barca are in trouble. I mean, they're losing players like Vidal is going to Inter Milan, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There's talks that they're going to agree a deal with Wolves for Nelson Semedo.
Yeah,
so,
I've seen that.
They're losing players, and the whole Messi situation and everything. Is Koeman going to be able to do it at Barcelona? I think it's good to see Aubameyang have that. Maybe because he's captain, might have a little bit of influence on that. But it's good to see that from players like, okay, but yeah, it's Barcelona, but Arsenal, I believe in what we're doing. So keeping the faith, I think, is good to see, and it's a nice change.
Loyalty, yeah.
Well, I think if Arteta doesn't come in, though, that doesn't happen.
No,
I think
I
before
agree.
Arteta came in, we were probably talking about Aubameyang leaving, really.
And amongst others, maybe as well. I think because
He's
they were massively in decline, weren't they? And then he's sort of steadied the ship.
Yeah,
and
he really has steadied the ship and improved it.
Started going back up again now. So yeah, there could be one to watch this season.
Silverware. I mean, he might have made a mess of lifting the trophy, but they got some silverware, which a lot of teams can't say in and around stage. They can't say that they got any. So, I mean, if you were going to back a horse at this stage who was going to do better in terms of where they're at, I'd take Arteta over Koeman all day long.
Fair comment. So I suppose we'll move over to the next game in question, which was Southampton 2, Spurs 5. An enthralling game. What are your thoughts on it, boys? 4 goals for Son, and 4 assists for Kane, and a goal for Kane. Are they back?
No, they're not back because Southampton in that first half, they could have done more. They could have scored more. If I'm a Spurs fan now, I'm not thinking all of a sudden, this is for you, DG. I'm not thinking all of a sudden you're going to win the league because you're not. You're not going to win the league. What I will say is your best players were outstanding. I love Son.
Yeah,
I absolutely
One of
love
the best
Son.
players in the league in my book.
He's one of the best players I have ever seen run in behind a defence because you aren't catching him and he just finishes for fun. He is such a good player and what a nice human being as well. And I just think your 2 best players performed and you've made 2 potentially extremely good signings. Reguilon was brilliant at Sevilla and you need a left back. I think he adds a lot to you. We don't know about Bale. No one knows what Bale's going to turn up. They're showing highlights of him like 6 years ago playing for Spurs, doing great stuff. You ain't getting the same man. You're just not. He hasn't played much football. He's been under a manager that doesn't particularly like him as much. It's going to take time. But if Mourinho gets him firing, they've got another dangerous player there going forward. They could be top 4 candidates depending on how it all works out. But off of one game, a game where Southampton, to be fair to them, they played very well. They were shocking in defence towards the end. They just let balls in behind way too easy. But in reality, it could have been a different story after that first half because Southampton were banging on the door and Gineppo looked fantastic. Ings scoring. They've got a decent team at Southampton. The Palace game for me was a fluke. Palace score, we've said it countless times, it's really hard to then break them down. But I think Southampton will be absolutely fine under Hasenhüttl. And I do think Spurs will do well. And like we say now, we've all got newfound love for Jose. I hope he does well. And he's learning, he's adapting how he plays football. I can't remember a Jose side that plays that openly in a game of football. They played very well. And they pressed a lot better this week against Southampton. And they really needed to do that. And it caused them a lot of problems. So when they've got the players they've got, it's hard to not look at Spurs and think they'll do something because they've got some unbelievable players. Whether you like Harry Kane or don't like him, I particularly don't like him that much. But there's no doubt in my mind he's a top-class striker and Son is a top-class winger. And I'm so excited that Dele might be out the door. You've got players in there that are definitely more deserving because they work hard for him. And they go on a run, they could be brilliant. And they keep their players fit, they could be brilliant. We just don't know what they're going to have yet. We don't know what Bale's going to turn up. He might score next weekend and we all go, oh, they got Gareth Bale. They're going to finish 4th. Oh, we might go, God, Bale looked crap, didn't he? I don't know. It's a game-by-game basis on that at the moment.
What are your guys' thoughts?
I personally, I think Son is one of the best in the league at what he does. The way he got in behind the Southampton, his timing, his runs are just perfect. And if ever you watch the Tottenham documentary that's on Amazon that I've been watching, he is a genuinely nice guy who cares about the game. I don't think he's one of these money grabbers that's, you see so much in the Premier League. I think he loves the game, he loves playing it, and you can tell the passion when he plays. I think Harry Kane set up all his goals, didn't he?
Yeah, 4 assists.
Yeah. And I think I haven't seen it, but we were talking about it, and I think Son got man at match, and didn't Mourinho come over and take the mic off him and say Harry Kane should have got man at match or something like that, messing him out? I don't know, but Bale at Tottenham, I'm not convinced. I'm with this that Tottenham fans are going to expect too much of him, and he may not deliver what they expect and want. I'd like to see Bale do what he does best. I mean, he's won more trophies than Zidane or something, and I saw a load of stats today where he more goals than so-and-so, more this, more that, more this, more that. Left Real Madrid, and everyone went, somebody left. Nobody seemed to care. So it'd be nice to see him come back.
Golf courses care.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they're
Spain's
gonna
get a drought.
Didn't
yeah,
they
they're
do
gonna-
that? Didn't it? I saw a tweet and someone
Played
said,
golf
"Oh,
with Daniel
yeah,
Levy
my
on the day that he
local
signed.
golf course have got this booked
Yeah.
in for such and such a time." Like,
Somebody leaked it, so everyone tried booking in a time for round when he would teeing off, which I don't know why you'd do that, to be fair. Just let him play his game of bloody golf. He's a better golfer than he is footballer by all accounts now, so...
what were it, third highest paid golfer? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
fourth highest paid golfer in
Fourth.
world up until signing for Tottenham, and
Yeah.
I don't know where he'll slot in the golfing world now. I mean, we'll see.
But do you not think he's the kind of player that, as much as we haven't seen much of him apart from for Wales, that is, and I'd say better than James Rodriguez, but just has that magic,
Oh yeah,
that moment of magic in him.
he's going to create.
Because he's not too old, is he? Really, when you think about it.
He's going to create some stuff this year where we're all going to sit there and go, "Wow, that was stupid." I mean, look at the goals he's scored in Champions League finals, for example. The ridiculous goals, that he's scored. That I mean, I think he'll do well, but I just don't think he will be this Gareth Bale that we knew, as we've said. Because obviously, time goes on, ages slow down a bit, but it's to be seen. I'm normally wrong about
Tell Ronaldo that.
Well, Ronaldo's a different kettle of fish in here. As much as I don't like admitting it, he is probably one of the best footballers you've ever seen on a pitch. But yeah, I like Tottenham. I like Mourinho now. I've got a soft spot for him after watching this documentary, and I do think that Dele Alli needs to get out of that club, because if he doesn't, I think he'll ruin his own career in my book.
I'd agree with that.
I think he's ruined it already. I likened him the other day in Limo's stream to a Delta rat. He's lazy, and that's where he's going. That's the way his career is going, and the press is so important in most managers' systems these days, and tracking back, and he is absolutely lazy. And I'm glad Mourinho called him out when he first met him. And I'm just worried at his age now that bad habits are difficult to train out of someone. And I think Mourinho obviously couldn't do it, and Poch couldn't do it either. And I just worry that that's probably potentially it for Dele. It's going to be very difficult for him now to have a resurgence and play differently to how he's played for the last several years.
I mean, one last thing that I want to mention about that match was the way that what's his name for Southampton brought the ball down. Ings, the way he brought that ball down was absolutely
quality, isn't it?
Amazing control. It
So
really
for the
was.
first goal.
Yeah, amazing quality. Whether he flicked it over, didn't he? And he brought it down with his outside it boot, I think it was, and it teed that up perfectly. And Danny Ings,
top class, absolutely top class.
Danny Ings again, class player. He's in my dream team, I think, somewhere.
He's in mine as well.
I'm pleased for you both.
And so is Son.
I won't tell you who's in mine, but anyway. Jeb, I could see you upon a few faces during Daz's speech on Gareth Bale. Anything you want to elaborate on there?
I mean, I've got a lot to say, to be fair, because I've got a bit of a... If it's allowed in football, I know it's
you're not allowed
debated,
two teams, mate. Nah.
Yeah, there you go. That's the thing. So if I had a second team, it would be Spurs, because my old man's a season ticket holder there, has been since the bloody 80s or something. So I've had the opportunity to go for a few games. So on the game itself, I mean, a lot has been said about it already. I actually think I was a bit. I don't want to disappointed, or not the right word, because I don't sort of have an affection for Southampton, but it was confusing to see that all of Son's goals were basically the same. Kane gets the ball into feet, plays the ball through, Son runs onto it, and he finishes it off. First time you think, all right, fair enough, good ball. Second time you're like, okay, there's a theme here. Why don't we do something about it? And then it happens 2 more times. You just think, like, why are you not changing? Why are you not adapting? This obviously isn't working. Let's change something to stop it happening. And then it happens 2 more times. So it's just like, it was a bit naive, really, I think, to see. I didn't see the disallowed goal as well, because Kane had a goal disallowed like 3 minutes in as well, didn't he? Yeah.
I missed that as well, yeah.
But one player as well I wanted to mention was Ndombele. He started, and I think he played pretty well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it's so good to see, especially under Mourinho, because I know obviously Poch brought him in at the start of last season, and he started pretty well. And then when Mourinho came in, there was lots of reports that they didn't get on. He was trying to force him out and
A
everything.
massive injury, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think that's been there's never been a question mark over his ability. He's he's still young. He's got plenty of, he's a very good player already. And he's got the potential to become even better. It's just the question mark's always been over his fitness. But I know, especially after the game in midweek when they just about managed to beat what they call like Locomotive Plovdiv or some stupid like
I
that.
saw that.
In
2-1,
the-
wasn't it?
Yeah. And then Dombele played really well. And Mourinho come out afterwards and said, Tanguy has been superb in training. He's really turned himself around. And, I really want him to flourish, which was really good to see. So, yeah, I'm glad for him and, glad from a Spurs point of view as well that, it looks like it's moving in the right direction. But on the Bale thing, I think, you mentioned, what sort of player is he going to be? Because we said about, he produces moments of magic and also his style of play. For me, for Bale, there's always two goals that stick out in memory from his time at Spurs, and that's the goal that he scored against West Ham when he just moved it out of his feet and it absolutely rifled one in top corner. I think that was like Upton Park days. If you saw it, you'd know which goal it was. It was just sublime. And then when they played Inter Milan in the Champions League, and I think they lost
Electric that night.
4-3.
and there was that one goal where he just picked it up in his own box and just straight down the other end.
What about the volley he did where he just opens his body up and hits it, smashing to the
against
corner?
Stoke? Yeah, I remember that. That was superb. But I think Bale's game relies, especially nowadays, relies heavily on pace and power. He is very much sort of like a get the ball into feet and just run. Perfect for a counter attack. But with his age, like Daz says, he's getting on now. Is he going to be the same player? All the injuries he's had as well. Is he going to have that same burst of pace? Is he going to be the player he once was? You see it so many times. Players pick up big injuries. They're never the same player. So
Are we a bit unfair to him though by saying that his game is pick up the ball and run with pace? I know it was a lot heavily at Spurs, but I think there was still a lot of moments where his free kicks, some of the magic moments on dead ball situations, and his ability to that quick burst of pace may be gone. Like you say, in the Inter Milan game, he ran past absolutely everyone, put it in the back of the net at the same time twice, I think. But I think he's still got the ability for long shots, and I think it's just a different dynamic. I don't think he'll be anywhere near as quick as he used to be. He was rapid, wasn't he?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's still, I believe he's still an all-round good player. I'm just saying, I think that's what his game relies upon more than anything else. I think that's where he's,
his biggest strength, basically.
He really excels in that area. I think it's a shame that he won't, when he makes his return to Spurs, that there'll be no one there to see it, because the Spurs fans will. The reaction he would have got if there was a full house at the Spurs stadium would be unmatched. It would just be, the prodigal son has returned almost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think, he's obviously an unbelievable talent. We don't know how he will play. He won't play for a little while because he got injured against Wales, injured playing for Wales. So I think Giggs said at the time he probably won't play for another month or so. So it might be a little while until we see him. But my biggest thing with Bale was, it's obviously a very expensive transfer. I think they're paying 230 grand a week of his wages. I think I read somewhere of the 500 or 600 grand that he earns. So it's only a third, but it's still 230 grand a week.
Would there have been a fee? Would there have been a loan fee as well, do you think?
Well, apparently there wasn't a loan fee directly, but like agent fees and all this other.
Right.
Apparently the whole loan is going to cost Spurs about 20 million.
Right.
Just for the season. So my biggest question was, he's a great player, but is he really what Spurs needed?
Could that money have been spent elsewhere, basically?
Exactly. Like they,
like future.
Yeah, like I think Reguilon's a really good sign. Like Matt said, he was brilliant at Sevilla last season. He's still young, so he's got plenty of time to improve. But he's already a very good player. Spurs is, biggest areas that they needed to improve was fullbacks. I mean, right back, they only had Aurier. They sold Walker Peters to Southampton. I mean, Doherty's come in. Doherty's a good player. Looks like Aurier is going to leave though. So again, you're back in that situation of only having one right back.
We've got Tanganga as well, aren't there? I think. Or is he more central?
Centre back.
Is that so? Because I know he's played a few games at right back when he first came on scene.
Yeah, I think Mourinho has that thing though, because he played Vertonghen a lot at left back last year, and then he played. I think
he's played Eric Dyer at right back as well.
Yeah, exactly, and he plays Musa Sissoko on the right mid.
Right.
So I got caught between saying mid and wing then.
Yeah.
So he's not shy putting people in foreign positions, but it's good to have like established players in the squad that are those positions. And left back, they have Ben Davis, who's okay. He's not a world beater, but he's solid, and he's alienated Danny Rose, so it looks like he's moving on.
Apparently, he doesn't have a shirt number. Him, don't think he has a shirt number.
He's
no, he don't.
I think he's going. I think he talks to go to like Genoa or something. Like
I heard that. Yeah, with someone else as well. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah, I think Genoa's the only one I've seen.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? As a Spurs fan, do you take Bale or do you spend money elsewhere? It's going to be so split. It's one of those.
I kind of feel like they miss someone like Bale. For me, I think they've got and Dembele now as well coming back in. I think they've got some good solid centre mids. I think, but in terms of going forward and creative, take Dele Alli out of the mix. You've got Kane, Son, and Moura for me, really in reality, because I don't rate Lamella that much. And I think when Kane got injured, you really didn't have anything. And I think if Bale adds just some of those magic moments that get you wins, then you'll be all right. But I remember them being really, really bad at trying to score and break teams down when Kane was injured. And I'm not saying Bale's going to come in and do that, but I think they did miss somebody who could pick the team up when Kane isn't there. And maybe Bale could be that for them because he will be a leader on the pitch and he could help give them that boost of confidence. But like you said, it is a 50-50, but I certainly think they needed another forward-thinking player because all it takes is that injury to Kane and then you're back in the same scenario. And I think I'd prefer someone like an experienced player like a Bale than someone who was going to be like a Fabio Silva at Wolves, per se, who's younger and not going to be quite ready to have that responsibility.
I think also. Go on, mate.
I was just going to say, you think back to what the midfielders that Spurs had in the past, the likes of in fairly recent past, Modric and Rafael van der Vaart. I mean, just there. That's what they're lacking at the minute. You imagine one of those two in the team that they've got now with the players that they've got up top. They'd be laughing, wouldn't they? I mean, that's what they're lacking. But I think it's obviously left back seems to have been sorted, right back to some degree as well, depending on Doherty. But yeah, basically that creative player at middle of the park is what they are solely lacking for me, and they could be pretty much. They should be dead certs on paper if they get a creative player for top four, in my opinion. But that's what they're lacking.
Yeah, I think that player. And I know when people talk about Spurs, I don't think I've seen anyone, if barely any, mention him, is Lo Celso.
Yeah.
Lo Celso, I think.
Yeah, I think it's because he does a job, doesn't he? And kind of flies under the radar. But he's got great footwork as well.
I think Lo Celso could be that player. I think Lo Celso is ideally, I see him as, I think he's better as a number 10 than he is, say, as a, sitting deeper. I think they want Lo Celso to be that player. I think he could be that player. But one thing again about Bale as well is, I know Matt said about the wingers, is where Jose is going to operate Bale. Is he going to play him as a winger? Is he going to play him more central? I mean, he's been given the number 9 shirt, so does that suggest maybe he's going to lead the line? Or, where is he going to play? How does he see him fitting into that system? So I think, only time will tell, but
I'd be surprised if he didn't play right wing.
Yeah.
Kane, Bale, Son.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if that weren't the usual lineup.
But then if he does play him as a winger, they have got plenty of wingers. You mentioned Son and Moura. Son, obviously, we know how good he is. Mora, he's okay. He turns up for he'll score important goals. Like he did against Ajax in the Champions League.
That's the first time I've seen him be unplayable.
Yeah, he's not normally that sort of player, but he's just one of them that he'll pop up with the odd goal at a good time, stuff like that. Obviously, they've got Bergwijn as well, who isn't at his best yet, but is still young. And like you, I absolutely hate Lamela. I think he's god awful, but previous managers have seemed to rate him, so he is there. So who knows?
Lamela's one of those players that is, you see him on the ball and he's nice to watch and he's really good. And Mora can be like this as well from some certain games. And he's really fantastic out of nowhere. He does something that shocks you, but he cannot put the ball in the back of the net. And he'll get himself into such a good position, but then take that touch too much or not pass the ball when he should do. And I think that's the Lamela's biggest issue. For me, I think you've got Mora right, Bale right, they're your two right-sided players, and then you've got Son left and Bergwijn left, and they're your two left-sided players. And what the beauty of pretty much all of them, they can all interchange in some form of central or attack kind of role. And I would give them the freedom because Son's good on both sides as well. And so is Bale to just go and have fun, go and play football. But that probably won't happen. But I would say they've got more strength in depth now.
100%. 100%. They're definitely going to be exciting to watch and see how it develops anyway, regardless. Moving on, I guess we can look at Everton against West Brom. 5-2. James Rodriguez played really well again, besides things. And West Brom, Slaven Bilic got sent off, didn't he, at half-time?
He shouldn't have been.
He shouldn't have done. I don't know what he said wrong, to be honest with you. But
he didn't say it wrong. It was harsh, really, for him, I think.
I don't know why he was complaining, though. He was moaning about the red card.
Yeah, it was red. For me, it was red.
It was an obvious red card.
There was a foul before the red card.
Right.
That's what his argument was, is that James committed a foul before Gibbs lashed out. So that's what his argument was. You need to watch it back. There was a foul in the build-up. So that was his argument, not that, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that, what are you doing? Like, why you can't do that? Like, you're one of the seasoned professionals in this team as well, and that's the way you react. But that for me just showed you how frustrating it was for him to play up against James Rodriguez. All that did for me was say he'd got in his head and was causing him problems. Everton are top of the league.
I don't think they are now. I think Leicester might have gone above them, but they're still up there. They're still second. Right? No, I think because
Leicester went top.
Leicester went top. The goals
3-0 in the opening game, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Leicester will be up there now, but Everton, I think, will be up there over a longer period.
I think it's beginning to look like that, isn't it? But yeah.
How's doing?
I know. Hat-trick, wasn't it?
I didn't rate him before, if I'm being honest with you, and I get if you're an Evertonian why you would rate him, but I just didn't think he scored enough. He got into great positions and didn't score. He scores near enough everything now. He's scored 4 goals already this season. I know we're 2 games in, but that is the sign of a striker that is going to go on and score goals for you all season. Richarlison looks better. Everton, whoever convinced Ancelotti to join that club, they need to go and throw him a party because unbelievable. Their team now, and when you look at the strength and depth that they've got as well, it's hard not to look at Everton as a potential top 4 side.
It really, agree with that.
I can't see how they perform badly against like your Liverpool, but that's a different game. The derby game is different. Liverpool don't. It's so much more of a stalemate. I think they're a problem. They're a problem for everyone this season. They might not be the best defensively, but they're going to be unreal going forward. And I've always loved James Rodriguez since he did so well in the World Cup. And he was unbelievable. And I've never really got to see him play much football because of the leagues he's played in. And after 2 games, the love obsession is back. He is... Why has nobody else gone and signed him? Why have teams like Man United, who were looking for a right winger, not looked at someone like James Rodriguez? He's magic. He's on the ball and you're just waiting. You sat there and you're waiting for something to happen. And 9 times out of 10, it does. People are saying how Chelsea have done the best business But in terms of improving your core team, Everton have to be up there with business because their squad now is stacked.
You can't say any fairer than that, to be honest with you.
I'm so excited about Everton. It's weird as well. It's a weird feeling to be like, oh, really excited about Everton just because of the players they've got.
Yeah,
Ancelotti has worked wonders. He was telling, they were talking about it after the game and how Ancelotti had told Calvert-Lewin to stop taking so many touches. And that it's these one-touch chances that you will score most of your goals from. Now, Ancelotti's worked with some pretty decent strikers, and Calvert-Lewin started doing it and scored so many more goals. It's an exciting time to be an Everton fan. So
apparently, he told him basically that's what Filippo Inzaghi did. I think he said he got the most ever goals or something in Serie A or something, and he's told him to basically try and replicate what he's done.
200 something.
Yeah,
like over 200 with just one touch.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I think he scored 303 and just like 210 or something of them were one touch. So I mean, like I say, if he can replicate anything, even half of that, it's going to be really good. It's going to be another selection headache maybe for England potentially in the future. We'll have to see. But obviously, early days, only 2 games in, but it's a very good start in it. Let's be honest.
All his goals at the weekend were one touch, weren't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Little, ball across the face of goal and then the header as well.
All three goals were one touch.
Yeah, very good.
All 4 goals he's scored so far have been one touch.
Yeah.
2 headers, the back heel, and then the other one.
I bet Big Dunk is loving Calvert-Lewin. The aerial threat that he's possessed already. That's got a Big Dunk all over it, isn't it?
100%.
He's going to be a real force if he carries on like this for England.
That's what I mean. But
I did think the West Brom goals were pretty good.
I was just going to say, Pereira's got a cracking free kick, didn't he?
Yeah, their first strike was
Dean Carter's goal was brilliant, and so was the free kick.
I do think they'll struggle this year.
You can't concede 5, can you? And that easily, defensively in the box, as much as you can rate Calvert-Lewin's performance, they conceded some sloppy. Keane's goal was sloppy as well, defensively from a corner. So they're really going to have to. I don't know what he does. There were positives, like he said at the end of the game, to some degree, with how they played. But they're going to be ripped apart by a lot of teams. But, I think Everton will do a lot of damage to a lot of teams.
Red card didn't help neither as well, I don't think. But
No, it didn't. And it did change the tie because they were playing well. If you watch the full game, they didn't actually play that badly. Just Everton were very clinical.
Yeah, very much so. I suppose we'll move on to an important game for us. Leeds, the battle of the 2 promoted sides, Leeds versus Fulham. 4-3. It was very comfortable at one point, wasn't it, Matt? And then all of a sudden, within about 5 minutes, it just went like to 50 pence, 20 pence, twitchy bum time.
I can imagine you two watching that and being worried.
We were shitting ourselves, and then hit the post.
It wasn't necessarily a worry. It was a frustration at watching how we were playing, to be honest with you. Yeah. I weren't impressed with Calvin Phillips. I thought he had a terrible game. Didn't he? Obviously, good old Robin Koch, great career start. 2 penalties given away already. What I do like about him is he doesn't seem to let it get to him.
Yeah.
He gets back up and he carries on and plays as if it didn't happen. And that's huge for the team.
Mentality, isn't it?
The keeper it's a real issue for me. I really don't think he's ready to be a number 1 at a Premiership side. He's not strong enough. He doesn't fill me with any confidence. No. But the game, there was patches of the game we talked about it. Rodrigo, he's not fit. You could tell he's not fit. He weren't chasing. He weren't running around enough in that midfield position. If that's Pablo, it's a different story. I felt like Rodrigo was sluggish getting back as well, which caused problems. And Phillips just took too many touches for me. He proved last week how good his passing was. And then this week, he kept running himself into trouble after winning the ball back. So he did what he was supposed to do. And then he found himself in trouble and wouldn't release the ball and get the pass. But, I mean, you take it, won't you? It's 4-3, but against Fulham, a side that, in my head, should have been more comfortable, we're going to have to do a lot better against some of the bigger sides.
Yeah, I think... sorry, go on. I'll let you, Daz. Go on.
No, go for it.
I was just going to say, I think Melier, that third goal summed it up, really. His lack of decisiveness. He came stopped, and then all Mitrovic had to do was get on target. You know, Mitrovic is always going to cause you problems, regardless of who he's playing against.
Gotcha.
But there's been something with the penalty. I think Joe O'Brien starts to go down before he makes contact, but contact is made, so therefore it's going to be
why
given.
are you diving
right?
in that position?
But
Don't
Karma,
dive in.
he gives away the penalty.
He does, yeah. he
Yeah,
does.
so and
Well,
that what's he doing pushing it back?
It was a rush of blood to the head. It was rash. Whether
Oh
he
yeah,
pulled
but he
out
pulled
or-
out though, didn't he? It's just a
Never
bit
got
harsh,
pulled out.
really. But
He's
he's started going over Ollie Watkins of the year, and then tapped his ankle on Cox's toe, and yeah, penalty.
You've got to expect
Yeah.
that in this situation.
He
and
needs to
it's
get. He
his
needs
own
to
fault.
not
Should've
dive
gone
in as
down.
much, because that's what, like I say, it's twice it's happened now. But yeah,
Well, the
like
first time
yeah,
very harsh
say
with-
the first one was harsh, but it's the first. Like I say, he went diving in. First thing you thought, well, what are you doing, diving in there? If it's outside box, you don't mind it, do you? But if it's in box, you don't dive in like that.
Silly tackle.
But
Silly tackle. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's going to learn. He's going to learn the hard way. I think Wilcock, unfortunately. But apart from that, giving that penalty away, I didn't actually think he looked that bad. I thought he looked solid. I thought he definitely looks determined, and I think under Bielsa will become a lot better player. The keeper, I'm with Matt 100%. It doesn't fill me with confidence, and part of me thought after the game, when we put Kiko in goal for the cup game, was Bielsa just testing how much people were going to kick off before he puts him back in the actual first team. Because I do believe that I think Meslier will drop to second at some point. But saying that, Kiko wasn't even on the bench at the weekend.
he was injured by all
Yeah.
accounts, an ankle injury.
His
or
hand or something on it, but that's fine. He can go back to Spain and stay there for me. I'm not bothered about that. But I think, like Matt says, I don't think Phillips had the best game. I think Click was fine. I think Costa looks
Costa was unreal.
the part. He is the part in the Premier League.
Him and Bamford.
Yeah,
Bamford
yeah,
settled
stepped up
Costa's
on it so
second
far.
goal. That
So
was
far,
unbelievable.
Bamford
Everyone who
did
hates
step
on
forward.
Bamford is being proved absolutely wrong at
Yeah,
this
I'm
moment
loving
in time.
that. I'm loving
His
that.
finish was unbelievable.
I've the same mate that I mentioned that as soon as Liverpool went 1-0 up, he turned at me and said it'll be 7-0 this. He was the one last year that was saying Bamford will go. Somebody's got to go. If he don't go, Bielsa goes. And I said to him, I said, there's no possible way on this earth Bamford is going anywhere. He fits exactly what Bielsa wants. So he's going nowhere. He's staying. He'll get 10 to 15 goals this year, I think, if he carries on the way that he is. Rodrigo, I feel a bit sorry for him. I honestly feel a bit sorry for him because he's been put into a position that really doesn't play.
Pablo were injured, wasn't he, in warm up, so that's why he
Pablo
played.
gets into the warm-up, so he's not even expecting to play, and all of a sudden it's, what's up, Gaffer? You're on. What? Pablo's over there. He's sucking on oranges. He's knackered. You're on. You know, Rodrigo's like, Rodrigo's a bit like, all right, then
I must admit,
And he goes on.
I thought it was a surprise that he played. Well, I thought he played either wing or up front. So
I mean, the one thing
No,
that
but I think with him he can play that position because if you look at the way we played at stages, Bamford dropped back and Rodrigo went higher. I think it's blatantly obvious that he's not been at the club long enough.
Certainly
He's
not
not
fit
fit
enough.
to the level that he needs to be at.
he's
And
not
that's
Bielsa's
why he came off
standard.
at half time. You could see, we were talking about it while watching the game. You could see when he was tracking back, he was absolutely
Oh,
knackered.
we're blowing out his ass. But I mean, I didn't think Roberts had a great game. A couple of people have said to me they thought Roberts was really good. I personally
He injected
think
a lot of
lost
energy.
especially in the cup. I thought he was terrible.
He added a
everyone
lot in the
was.
sense that he caused an extra problem for them to deal with.
Yeah.
And he was very, he came on fresh and he's very quick and very aggressive. So I think when he came on, the press upped again, where the press at the end of the first half seemed to be lacking because we press as such a unit that if one person isn't part of that unit and pressing, it doesn't work. And Rodrigo couldn't. He was done and dusted. I thought we improved when Roberts came on, and we ended up scoring three goals.
I think Bielsa sat there and somebody said to him, "They think you're mental in this league. All these goals all over the place. How can you go one step above being the manager that you are now? How can you prove to the Premier League you're mental?" Yeah, all my cup of tea or whatever he's drinking. Bamford, go on, Alioski, go nuts. Just
Go top.
run around on
I
that
know.
pitch. Just
Alioski
go
went up top.
In fact, go where you want, mate. Just go, Alioski.
I don't even know what position he was playing in because he
No,
was
but-
everywhere.
The commentary nailed it to the ground. Bielsa doesn't, because Bielsa said, my players don't have a position.
No.
And they don't, because you don't know where anybody is. I mean, that proves it. You take off Bamford, a striker, you bring on Alioski, who's a natural left-hand side midfielder. You put him in the centre and just say, I don't know, go up front, come back, do what you want, just go. I mean, in the cup game during the week, Alioski was heard running down the wing, making noises.
He's
making noises, running down the wing, going,
trying to put people off.
He's an absolute lunatic, is Alioski. He is my new Berardi. The Berardi that I loved him was like the cool, like Leeds player that you got. Berardi gives you everything.
Yeah, gives you a red card as well, though.
Yeah, but Alioski's that man for me now. When I look at him and I just go, I love that guy a bit. For people who don't know that are watching this, Alioski, just type it in as well. Alioski funny moments at Leeds. You'll find loads of them on. He's an absolute idiot.
Yeah.
And it proves it because Bielsa just goes, just go run on there and make you sound like a wasp, and he's running around making wasp noises.
The commentator, when he made the sub, me and G were talking about it. The commentator, they made the sub, and we went, but the commentators don't have a clue where Alioski's about to play now.
But not taking anything away from, what was the midfielder's name now?
Anguissa stood out.
I thought it was superb. I thought he was superb. I can't stand Mitrovic. I hate him at the best of times. I just think he's a thug of a footballer, to be fair.
It is, but it works.
Yeah, it works for him. I personally don't like it. I don't like
the entire of Leeds' team in like 30 years ago.
So. No, we battered them properly. We didn't moan about it. If we battered somebody, we battered him, and we admitted it and went, "Yeah, I've just knocked him out." Whereas Mitrovic's like, "No, I didn't nearly fucking pop Ben White's head off his shoulders. Never touched him. Can't do it with him." But yeah, Fulham. As seen in
an intro, I might add.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Fulham, they did well to come back. I thought we let them back into it. I thought they attacked Dallas hard down left.
He struggled a bit, didn't he?
I think everyone knows that's our weak spot, to be fair. At the moment, it's our defence as a whole, because they're still a new unit. But I think we need a proper left back in. And he keeps leaving Douglas out. I'm convinced that he's off to Celtic. But the perfect left back for us, in my mind, is Fulham.
Joe Bryan.
Yeah,
he's all right.
I do think he'd do well at Leighton. I really do think he would. But overall, 16 years out of that league, and we've come back and we've won our first game. Happy days.
Second game.
Well, won his first game. Won his first ever game back since been back in the Premier League, I think.
Yeah, won our first game back since being in Premier League. And like I said earlier, off camera, typical Leeds thing. We've scored 7 goals and we're still on a goal difference of 0. So go for it. But yeah, it's great to watch.
Any thoughts from yourself, JMO?
I mean, as you boys know, Leeds are my
This is painful to say.
Yeah, literally. I'm having to psych myself up just to say something nice. I mean, when you've got a League One team in the Prem, then it's hard, isn't it? But
well, you found that back like a couple of years ago, didn't you? When Reading were top flight.
That bad.
I was going to say West Brom are all right. What are you about? Calm down.
I thought I'd get a bite out of that. That was poor from me.
So I get a bite when you're enjoying a Premiership win.
It's been a few years since I've had one of those. Car alarm going off, sorry.
Anything to get out of talking about how good we are.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I mean, oh God, this hurts. But Leeds, I thought they played pretty well. I mean, the goals, some of the goals were like really nice. I thought Bamford's goal was really good. The pass from Click was superb, and then just slots in the corner. I know. Again, I mentioned it earlier. I spoke to G briefly during the Liverpool game, and I know you said Phillips didn't play particularly well this week, but last week, I mean, I think the text I sent was some of Calvin Phillips's passing can be like defined as sexual. Like some of it was just absolutely superb. I thought the first goal, the finish from Costa, was superb. The angle, he's hit that so bloody hard, and it's just flown in. Poor from Fulham, the fact that he was left unmarked on the corner.
Yeah.
Zonal marking is always questionable. I personally prefer man marking. It's much easier. Then you can blame someone then as well. But You mentioned the penalty. From what I've seen, the Fulham penalty this is, I didn't think it was a penalty. From what I've seen of it, I didn't think
it was so obvious because he made such a stupid decision because he does that, and it just you're leaving yourself in such a position there that you just push someone in the back.
Oh, what? Look,
You're on about Cockholm.
Leeds the penalty. Yeah, absolutely. But the Cock one, yeah. I just because he runs up to him and then realizes, oh no, I probably shouldn't do that, and then just sort of like Brian past him. I didn't think there was enough for it to be a penalty.
And they seem to check it on VAR, didn't they, as well?
In slow motion, it doesn't look as bad, but I think at full pelt, all that matters is that he caught him, and as long as he caught him in any way, shape, or form, they were going to give it.
Yeah.
Well, he felt sorry for us, didn't he? And he went and gave us a penalty back, so.
Yeah, but like I said, that was a clear push. That he was about to jump up and head it, and it was going straight on his head as well. And he just pushed him, so his head naturally went forward. So
it was silly.
It was stupid. Well, that one, but
both to be fair.
Yeah, but I mean, what else could he have done to stop him from scoring? I mean, it was going straight on his head, like I said. He's not too bad with his head, is he, Bamford? So chances are, I probably would have got it on target at least. So
on form striker.
Yeah. Well, no, that's Calvert-Lewin, but easy on form striker. So I suppose, Fulham, do you think they've got enough to stay up? No, still not. Despite
not with what we've got now. They I saw some great stuff, and they might have some decent games. And like we say, and Guisa looked brilliant, but they paid a pretty penny for him, and he hasn't looked good for him. That's the first time I've seen him look good for him. I know he did play for him in the Championship, but it's the first time I've seen him look good. They're going to have to improve a lot, I think. Jimo said it there. They were very poor defensively. And I think really going forward, it was probably more us just being far too slack after going 4-1 up. I felt like it was just a typical, there's a reason why there's a chant Leeds are falling apart, and it's because we do it to ourselves. And I feel like we just left too many open spaces then at that stage, and made it a bit easy, made life a bit easier for them, which was a bit of an issue. But other teams that are well drilled defensively, they're not going to get anything past them unless they get a bit of luck, I think. Mitrovic he's kind of a walking red card, which is the only problem. He seems pretty easy to frustrate.
Yeah.
And with VAR, with some of his antics we've seen in the Championship, he will get sent off, especially the way they're sending people off at the moment. And defensively, I can't say they need. I don't know what they need. They need some level of miracle, because it's not going to happen for them defensively. They're poor, very poor.
So, moving on, Newcastle followed up their really impressive performance against West Ham with an absolutely shocking performance against Brighton. It was 3-0 to Brighton. Maybe a little bit of controversy. English apparently is very tough for me. With the red card at the end, but I think Brighton well-deserved winners. I don't know. Because I think it's... No, because I know Shawn Michaels did. I know Shawn Michaels did.
Mr. Miyagi's grandson just fucking super kicked another player and then patted him up back to see if he were all right. And you controversy. He should be in a cell. He needs to be banged up.
I still think it was completely accidental, wasn't it?
No, it was. He handballs it first.
You think he's kicked him in face on purpose?
Did you see it? I mean,
you're probably the only person that I've seen that don't think it's an accident.
It's great technique. He must know some cracking karate. But what is he trying to do? I don't know what he's trying to achieve.
He's trying to flick the ball.
Flick what ball? He's just handballed it over there. He super kicked him in. He did worse than a super kick. No.
Doesn't appreciate this reference. That was a sweet chin music that Shawn Michaels would have been proud of.
That's what I'm saying. But I still don't. I think it was accidental. I still do.
Whether you think it was accidental or not, he's got no right or no reason to have his foot up there. There is no need for it. You can't high foot.
It's not going running into it and flying kick, does he? It's just been.
He stood with his back to the players, so he knows the players there. He
knows the players, and the ball were there as well.
He can feel the players there, and whether the ball's there or not, what is he doing putting his boot there?
I don't think he's. I agree with you. I don't think he's.
I don't know. I don't think it's on purpose.
Yeah,
but what
yeah,
I think is it was an absolute. Whether you meant it or not, it was idiotic in his brain to.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
Even try and do that. It was ridiculous. He didn't need to do it. There's no need for his boot to be up there. And to say, oh, he was trying to get the ball, but he's not thinking for 1 second that there's a player right behind him when he flicks his foot up like that. It was just idiotic.
I can see where you're coming from there, but I think it's completely accidental. I think that's the line is. It's a case of should it be a red card? Because initially they give a yellow card and it ended up going to VAR.
Yeah, of course it's a red card. He kicks somebody in the head. You can't. You've got no business having your foot up there. His foot was at head height. It's not like Lewis was bringing his head down.
So that means every time. So that means every time someone goes for a high foot, which never gets punished in the same way.
I know it's different
because he's going. I know he's going like that. I'm going to pull me.
If a high foot usually gets punished, right, and it hits the other player in the head, it's because the other player's gone down to head it.
Right.
In this situation, there is no need for that man's foot to be at head height. There is no need for it. Why is it at head height? It's not like Lewis has gone to head the ball and he's kicked him in the head. He's literally flicked his foot behind him and smacked him in the head. Of course it's a red card.
It'll be interesting to know what you guys think in the comments below. But
how you don't think that is a red card?
I just think common sense. It's an accident. There's no intent.
Whether there is intent or not, he has kicked somebody in the head. What's the point of like a high foot? What's the point in penalising someone for a high foot? Right? Like Mane against Edison. That's a red card then, is it? But this one in when he actually lifts his boot to head high.
Because Mane against Edison, it was a big fuck off flying kick like that, wasn't it, into his head?
This one is the same.
No, it's not.
There is no need for his boot.
It's stood.
Mane is going for the ball to try and score a goal. Mane is going for the ball to try and score a goal. This lad is in the middle of midfield and just boots him in the head, behind his back. There's no need for his foot to be up there. How you can go? Oh, that's it's accidental. It's accidental.
All I'm going to say.
Even Alan Shearer said the same. But anyway,
Alan Shearer is an idiot. If he thinks that wasn't a red card.
I haven't seen feet that high since Rene Gita did that scorpion kick. That's all I'm saying.
There is no need for his foot to be that high.
So anyway, what about thoughts on the rest of the game?
I thought Newcastle were crap at the back.
Seamless transition there. Absolutely love that.
Newcastle crap at the back. Hashtag free Ben White, please. That's it. Game over. Next game.
Anything to add on that?
Brighton played well and Newcastle didn't turn up. I mean, it was as simple as that. And I don't think Newcastle play like that week in, week out. They started very badly and never recovered. And Brighton looked silky smooth on the ball and played some good football and clearly have a great karate teacher.
Anything to add on that, Jamo?
I think just the worrying thing for Newcastle is just how bad they were compared to last week. They were really good against West Ham. They played the exact same team and they were awful. Didn't have a single shot on target the whole game.
That's
so
bad,
I think that says a lot. Yeah,
I mean, Maximum got taken off early as well, didn't he? He had to come off early, which I suppose never helps because he is key for him. And Brighton are an extremely good team. The penalty early on doesn't help. I think Newcastle will be that team where they grow into games. I felt like that's what they did against West Ham. As the game went on, they got better and better and better. Brighton hit them early doors twice, I think.
Yeah.
And Newcastle just never recovered. And I think that's how Newcastle will be. In some weeks, we'll see them play extremely well, grow into games and score goals. Other weeks, they'll be in a scenario like that.
Yeah, the young kid wanted to play at right back. He's just come on to see Lampley, is it? Lamptey? Yeah, he played like 58 minutes and he played
awesome.
A bit
last season and he looked really good then. And
he's rapid.
He was fantastic. He won man of the match, I think.
Yeah, with a 58-minute performance, man of the match. In a game that they've won 3-0, I think Maupay got 2 goals. But yeah.
Well, to be fair, Basuma played very, very well until he decided to kick someone in the head.
Yeah. But we won't get back into that. Instead, we'll move on to the next game, which was Leicester 4, Burnley 2. If I remember rightly, Chris Wood got an early goal, and then Leicester came back into it, and yeah, they really turned it on, didn't they?
We were talking about good young players, weren't we? But they've got one as well, that Justin.
Yeah, he scored, didn't he? He scored his first ever Premier League goal, didn't
he? He looks really good.
Good player.
He looks really good. Yeah, left back. Yeah.
Did they get it from someone like Walsall or Swindon or something like that?
Luton.
Luton, yeah, never mind. Luton.
Have you guys watched the game or seen the goals at least?
I watched the game. I watched the goals.
I saw a match
Tielemans'
today.
pass-
And the goals.
Tielemans' pass to Ricardo
Yeah.
is one of the best passes you will see.
It
was
literally through eye of a
unbelievable.
needle, wasn't it?
Leicester have got a great team, haven't they?
Yeah.
They're a brilliant squad. It's a brilliant team. I don't think they'll be as good as last year because I don't think they're scoring enough. They did very, very well against Burnley and in the first game, and it's whether they can keep that throughout the season now and just in key games make sure they get the goals. But they started so well last year. That's why they were a top 4 side and then dropped off. It'll be interesting to see if they can carry that. But there's no doubt Leicester have some unbelievable players. Their midfield is fantastic. They've got an unbelievable right back, especially offensively. It's how does Vardy hold up? If Vardy gets injured, who gets the goals? And for me, Harvey Barnes needs to have a better goal scoring year. He scored, but it was a scrappy goal. He needs to have a better year in terms of in front of the goal.
And what about Burnley? What do you think? Think they're going to be more of the same, just mid-table?
Yeah,
What Burnley do, don't they?
They just go about the business, don't they? They don't bother anybody in the league. They don't, nobody looks at them as relegation. Nobody looks at them as European contenders. They just go about the business. Chris Wood's a great striker. He pushed. I'm unsure on how. If you watch his first goal, he actually shoves the guy out of the way.
Yeah, I saw that.
I thought that as well. He actually goes and actually pushes him.
Yeah, you can see it.
That's why I said, did anyone see the goals? Because I was going to mention that. Like, how is that even given as a goal?
Yeah, it was
Just
a bit
look down,
contentious.
Go away.
It was a clear push. Yeah, it was a very clear push. They got away with it.
Again,
VAR
consistencies.
Yeah.
Charlie Taylor had a shocker, didn't he? On goal, and a couple of times he got found out. But I mean, he was one of our top prospects with Charlie Taylor. You always thought he was going to go on and do really well, but
he has done well.
All right, and he's
Burnley.
been playing regular Premier League football, hasn't he?
They have a very good defensive record normally, and this was their first game of the season, and not an easy game after Leicester have just come off winning so well. I think Burnley will be all right, especially defensively in the long run.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
So I guess his first goal was questionable as well, because like the Harvey Barnes goal, because it sounded like it hit Perez on its way through.
I thought it hit Perez.
I remember that.
Because
Yeah.
it sounds like it hit something, but you can't really see anything because of the camera angle. I thought VAR would definitely have a look at that, but
I thought
Snick
it
Hobbiter
I
from
thought
cricket
it
out.
wasn't going to be given. Perez looks like it's not going to be given as well when they first score it.
Apparently, he was looking around saying it's my goal, sort of thing, because he said he's touched it. It's
No,
like,
I think he was
would
looking around to see
thinking.
if the line had flagged.
Right, I see. But again, if
Because he was
VAR's
offside.
about, then why
Vardy
did
did
not
well
look
for
more
the
in
goal
depth?
though.
Yeah.
He did.
Ball played through
Vardy
and held
played
it up
really
very
well as well, though, to be fair, didn't he? His ability to get in behind as well. We mentioned Son earlier, but his ability to get in behind as well is just top class.
I think Leicester are a tough one to predict this season because you've obviously got your top three in Chelsea, Man City, and Liverpool. You've got that fourth place position. I don't think Leicester will get top 4. I don't think Leicester will get top 6, if I'm honest.
I think there's more competition into this year.
It's definitely getting interesting
Top
up there.
4.
Yeah, because there's more question marks, isn't there?
There's
more question marks around teams like your Spurs, your Arsenals, Everton now, Leicester, and there are question marks where you're like, if they go on a good run, they could be a team that could potentially get that top 4. And if Daz has called it, if it doesn't gel for Chelsea, and fairly quickly, because you don't get so much time if you're going to be a top 4 team, what's their situation as the season progresses? You would imagine they're going to be absolutely fine with the players they've signed. You never know. That's what's so great about football is the unpredictability.
Yeah, 100%. So, moving on to his penultimate game. Villa won Sheffield United. It was tonight, of the night of recording. Sheffield United, bit of a contentious sending off, I think.
Didn't watch it, so I'll let somebody who knows what went on go on.
I only tuned into the last half hour. I literally turned it on just before Villa scored, so that's all I've seen.
Well,
You
we've
managed to
seen a
catch it.
clear-cut red card, haven't we, in the super kick? And then this is just the perfect example of what is not a red card. I don't know. If I'm Sheffield United, I'm devastated for getting the red card in 12 minutes as well. I think 13th minute, I think it was like 12 minutes 20 or something like that. Ollie Watkins kind of goes through, kind of doesn't go through. They're both, him and Egan are both chasing for the ball. Watkins has got his arm over Egan. Egan's pulling on Watkins, and the keeper's coming out to get the ball. It's not in the area, obviously, it's outside of the area. And they've taken that, even with VAR, as a clear-cut opportunity and sent off Egan. When it was really, you know, they're both grabbing each other. And Egan is leaning on Watkins as a defender does. We've seen it. They're basically are coming together of, I'm going to try and stop you. It's not obvious that it is all Egan. When you watch it back, there is definitely Watkins still getting a bit of Egan as well. If that's going to be a red card from now on, it's not going to be a fun season because it ruined the game for Sheffield United, really. They still played very well, but it was hard for them to get going. And Villa did what worries me about Villa and struggled to break them down for the entirety of the game. They scored with Konsa, the centre-back, and Watkins, for me, the commentators were saying, Watkins had a pretty decent debut. I was like, well, no, because he shouldn't have got Egan sent off. That shouldn't have been a red card. And he didn't really do that much for me. Villa's biggest problem for me has always been putting the ball in the back of the net last season.
Really?
And Bertrand Traore could be great for them.
Yeah, definitely. And so you say Grealish, that's the biggest problem, is it?
Wasn't that the game last year where there were a lot of controversy again? Where If I were a Sheffield United fan now,
well, they're not getting any luck against Villa, are they? Because that weren't a red card, and that was definitely a goal.
Yeah,
I would be fuming. I mean, I haven't watched that game tonight. I don't know how Sheffield play, but they are a good, solid unit, and it'll be a good game between us and them on Sunday because they are a well-organised unit. I was actually surprised because I had Sheffield United down to win that maybe 2-0 tonight. But obviously,
well, it could have been a different game without it. It would have been a different game without the red card because even with 10 men, they caused the odd problem. And as much as Villa had the possession and whatnot and was trying to break them down, they couldn't. They just simply couldn't.
Yeah. I think it was a set piece at them, wasn't it? I think Eder from free kick, right? I think it was.
I think it was a free kick or a corner. Tyrone Mings nodded it on and Conte managed to put it in the back of the net.
What were you going to say there, JMO? Sorry?
If you take into account last season, Sheffield United have lost 5 games on the bounce now in the league. And they lost. They lost on pens in the cup as well to Burnley midweek. So,
I think I'd be worried if it weren't for watching the games and seeing how they played. Like
It's
the second
fine.
half against Wolves, they should have scored. They just simply should have scored. They were very good in the second half. And then watching this game, very unlucky with the red card, very harsh. And then they miss a penalty, which would have made them 1-0 up. And I would say now, in my mind, it's luck. Obviously, that needs to turn around, not this weekend. But that needs to turn around for them eventually. But I just fancy they were a well-organised and well-oiled team. And I think they'll be okay.
No sign of the second season syndrome, then? You don't think?
Potentially.
It's too early to say, but based on how they've played, you know, you look at West Ham's first game and Newcastle's second game, awful. And I haven't seen that from Sheffield United yet. I think Newcastle are going to be fine. And Sheffield United have looked good in both games in terms of they've had something to offer and have been unlucky with a red card. And, I mean, they conceded 2 sloppy early goals against Wolves, but given a decent striker, they were banging on the door the entire second half. I don't know how they didn't get a goal.
That's what they need, don't it? A striker. I touched on it off camera before about the fact that Ollie McBurney was their top scorer with 6 goals last season.
But I imagine a lot of their team members chipped in with goals and they didn't concede much. So it's.
If they conceded 2 goals, is that going to be enough? If say Leeds score 2 goals, is that going to be enough to win the game?
Well, who knows?
You would imagine so, but I think they scored quite a few against Man United when they played against them. I think it depends how they turn up that day. Mousse's a danger when they've got him playing as well. So,
I mean,
they stayed up comfortably last year, so to say this year they're not going to score, I think
it's just a second season syndrome thing. That's
I'm
all.
having a look at some stats here from this game tonight, and you know, Aston Villa had 72% possession. You kind of expect it with 10 men, sorry, but you still think it might be a bit higher. They had 4 shots to Sheffield United, only one of them on target. Aston Villa had 18 shots, 2 on target.
They were dreadful.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2
They were
on
poor.
target. I mean,
I said it all last year, and I said it at the start of this year. If they don't find a way to score goals, Villa are going to be in the danger zone again. And because that's what they didn't have last year, none of their players could grab those goals that were important. Now, they've signed Watkins, who was a winger until last season, and is a championship unproven striker surrounded by some very good goal scorers next to him. So for me, he's not an out-and-out striker. Whether Dean Smith's used him before, he's not. Bertrand Traore as well can play up top, but he's a winger. So they haven't signed anyone for me. If they'd have got Callum Wilson, I might be saying differently. But I still don't know if they're going to get the goals that they need to get. And a sign tonight is you look at the possession, you look at the domination, and it took a centre-back to score a goal from a set-piece. They didn't look that threatening going forward. A lot of long shots from distance from players like Grealish and McGinn. To be honest with you, if it weren't for the red card, I wouldn't have known Watkins were playing unless they kept mentioning, oh, they've signed Ollie Watkins.
I don't know why commentary seem to have a massive love for Aston Villa. It really winds me up. But anyway.
Is there a particular player that winds you up the most as?
Just Grealish, I think his name is, or something. I don't know. Can't stand him. I don't even like the club.
It's one game.
Don't say how Fence does.
It's one game. If I'm a Villa fan, I'm not going to look at that first game. I'm going to say good 3 points.
Yeah.
You know? We
play badly and won.
Yeah, it's a good 3 points.
Side of a good team, as I say.
The problem is it looked a lot like it did last season. Yeah. And they were lucky to survive. There were some circumstances and whatever went on at Watford that gave them a bit of a helping hand. So are they going to get the same this year? I'm not sure. For me, it could be Villa or West Ham that have that third relegation spot.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Anything, Tad? Yeah, go on, mate.
Villa finishing Champions League this year just because they signed Emi Martinez.
Well, someone said to me, "Oh, he'll save him a few points." Well, that's all well and good, but you need to get wins, and he can save as many as he wants. But if you're not putting the ball in the back of the net on the other end, you're still going to go down.
Yeah.
No, I was just joking because not last season before, he spent the second half of the season on loan at Reading and pretty much almost single-handedly kept us up. So
he is brilliant.
He's like a Reading legend. He saved the pen. He was there for 6 months.
Saved the penalty tonight. So
yeah, not a bad debut, is it?
Brilliant signing, I think, for them because he was fantastic back end of last season.
Like I say, it's going to be other end. And I suppose moving on to the final game to look through, and that is Wolves against Man City. It's finished 3-1 to Man City, 2 early-ish goals, I think, for Man City, and then Wolves managed to pull them back. And then a late goal. I'm guessing that Wolves are trying to push for an equaliser, and they've just got them on counter. 95th minute for Jesus' goal. I think you've been keeping a bit of an eye on it, haven't you, Matt? How did it go down?
Yeah, Man City got a penalty. I didn't see enough of it to see if there was any controversy around it being a penalty or not. But Man City got a penalty. De Bruyne converted it. Cheers, he's in my fantasy team. But what the one thing I will say from watching it, Wolves played well. You know, Man City did what Man City do, but Wolves committed men forward and they missed a few good opportunities from what I saw as well. Jimenez did and so did Moutinho. So, I mean, it's Wolves doing what Wolves do and Man City doing what Man City do. And I think on a different day might have been a different result if some of the chances had fallen Wolves' way a little bit more. You know, memories of what happened twice last season for Man City. But for them, that'll be a great game to get out of the way because Wolves beat them twice and they're a difficult side to play against. They're going to put your defence under a lot of pressure. It was John Stones and Ake at the back as well. So,
John Stones getting a chance.
You never know. So I would imagine he's only getting a chance though because Laporte couldn't start or something like that. I don't see that being natural selection.
No, I don't.
But yeah, Wolves played well. Wolves aren't going to come away from that and think, oh no, they're going to be pretty happy with the way they played. Man City have got away from that curse of missing the first game of the season and actually getting the win. So, you know, I know a lot's been made of teams coming in fresh and not coming in fresh. You know, the Man United Palace situation, a lot of people pointed out Palace had played a game, but if you're a top tier side, that shouldn't really matter. And Man City did the business.
I take it Wolves. I mean, looking at stats here, I can only imagine that Wolves literally just counter-attacked. I mean, 10 shots, 1 on target, 34% possession, 355 passes. You look at Man City and the stats you expect: 14 shots, 9 on target, 66% possession, passes 686. So nearly double the passes, haven't they? What Wolves did. So I mean, it tells a
That's what I'd
story just
expect,
there
wouldn't
that literally Man City have kept the ball, doing what they're doing. Wolves have counter-attacked when they could.
Do you think?
And that's how they'll play against, all the big sides. And sometimes with their counter-attacking threats, sometimes it works.
Yeah.
Do you think the Jota going to Liverpool is going to hurt Wolves?
No. They've got Neto, who's a very good player. They've got Podence, who's a very good player. I've got no disillusion that Wolves let their players go if they think they can cope without them. Doherty's gone, but we mentioned someone who's supposed to be a fantastic right back that could be joining them. And if he does, I think that's a superb bit of business. They signed Fabio Silva for the future. They've already got a strong front line anyway. A lot of people are making out that they've never been a one-man team. They're a team. They've got a brilliant amount of players and some depth. And they haven't used Jota so far this season, and they've still looked exactly like Wolves look and play exactly how Wolves play. I don't think they're going to miss him that much. I don't think we'll be saying, it's because they don't have Jota or Doherty. I think they let players go if they think that they can replace them or they've got the replacement already.
You don't have to look at when we got Douglas from, and then everyone went, "Oh, what they're doing getting rid of Douglas?" Replaced him, done. Costa, another one. Oh, Costa's done really well. Him and Douglas down left were superb. No problem to them. Not a problem. They already had it sorted. So, like Matt says, last week, great
we
team.
Probably underrate the other players that they've got, and that's probably why. Neto is actually a very good player, so is Podence. So, I think because Jota's been so magical in memory and been so good and linked quite highly and heavily, it's that expectation that he's really good. I think they've cashed in a little bit.
Maybe that's fair. Anything to add on that, Jamo? I know obviously I haven't seen it, but is that? What do you think? Do you think Wolves and Man City? What do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to be much of the same, 7th and 2nd or something?
Yeah, well, I think I don't think Wolves will finish 7th. I don't think they'll do as well this season. I'm kind of like opposite to Matt. I'd be interested to see how they do without like Jota and Doherty, because I just think they were so important to them. I think they are definitely a good team, and they all understand their roles and everything. But Doherty, was really good for them, flying down the right wing. Jota, obviously, like we said, scores goals, creates moments. So I'm no doubt they've got depth, and like we've alluded to, they seem to be pretty smart with their transfer business. But they were 2 pretty important players for them, so they might feel the loss, they might not.
Would you take Doherty over Semedo?
Oh, I don't know.
You've got to question it. You've got to question it, though, haven't you? So I think that kind of shows.
Yeah.
Where I think their business mindset is probably what's going to be, because Jota and Doherty weren't good players until Wolves made them good players. I think Wolves are going to be smart enough to recoup losing a couple of players.
Will Semedo come in and slot in straight away, though?
He's very offensive. I think he fits their style. He's a very offensive right back, so I think he'll fit their style. But I think even if he doesn't come in and takes a few games, I mean, I didn't feel that they missed Doherty against Sheffield United. If you'd have told me he was going to be there or not there, I didn't. They played exactly the same as the Wolves that I remember from last season, and I think that's what they're so good at. Whether the players in the team or not, they seem to always just play the same as how Wolves play. I think that's probably kind of the model that they build, and they're always probably going to be, to some degree, a selling club. And I think they made decent. I thought Doherty were a bit cheap. I was surprised, like a lot of people, because I've got memories of how well he played against Man City when they beat them. But I think at the end of the season, we'll probably look at it as good business from their part, because they've brought in more new, fresh-faced young players and got rid of 2. But it's just how players pan out, don't they? But it's their transfer business so far has been up there with some of the best.
Yeah.
Be players like Jimenez or Jota or players like that. They've Ruben Neves, Matinho's been so good for them as well. They seem to have a really good head on their shoulders when it comes to recruitment.
100%, yeah. And just before we move on to the final part, what about Wolves' third kit? Have you seen
I
it?
haven't seen it.
It's basically the Portugal kit. Honestly,
At this
it's
point-
like the Portugal kit.
Yeah.
At this point, you
But
need to put
self-aware or what?
that on. Oh yeah,
I've
bloody
seen the blue one.
No, it's a purple.
it's
It's like the actual. It's literally like the
it's Portugal.
burgundy and green of Portugal. It's brilliant.
Yeah, stick it in there.
What is it? Known as Wolves away kit?
It's like the third kit.
It's there.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't be that.
Yeah, I
Surely
remember
it
that
can't.
now.
No, it is. It is.
That's their shop. I've put the link in the Discord chat, and it's their link. It's £55, by the way, and you can pre-order it.
You should get it and give
Talk
Ronaldo
about me.
back.
Yeah, just for shits and giggles. But yeah, tripping hell. But talk about
Jesus.
self-aware. Brilliant,
Took
isn't
the
it?
number there,
Aren't they?
Hey, people knock it, don't they? People are like, they just. We make jokes about them just signing Portuguese players and stuff, but look,
I think they'll do well.
And
They'll
they're
do well in
cheap.
Euros.
They are
They'll
cheap.
do well in Euros.
Imagine if we had a superstar striker in
Excuse me.
our league that is touted to be the next big thing as a striker. You
We
won't
do
get him for
something.
35 million.
No,
You just wouldn't.
no, definitely not. So finally, then, JMO, this is regarding yourself. We're asking for. We did it with Limo last week. Predictions for the top 6 of relegation. So we'll start with. I can't remember. What I did with Limo.
bear in
Yeah.
mind, if you want to come back on again, which I'm sure we'd definitely have you on,
To be
the
fair,
bottom three is quite essential to what decision you make.
The bottom three, did you say?
Yes, the bottom
We'll
three.
say the bottom 3 first, then.
Okay,
So then
so
we'll decide if we just cut it there.
Yeah.
rock bottom definitely. No, I'm joking. No, I said this off camera. I think I said Leeds would finish like 11th
yeah,
this
you
season.
did. You said it to me off camera.
So yeah, so don't worry, you're not in trouble there. So bottom 3 for me. Bottom, I think West Brom.
Mm.
I think out of all the promoted sides, they're probably, I fancy them the least. I think Fulham have strengthened better. I think Fulham are a better team, arguably.
Okay.
But saying that, I've got Fulham 19th.
So only marginally
yeah.
better.
Yeah, only a bit better, but not quite good enough. It's a shame though, because like I like Scott Parker, so but if they're not good enough, they're not good enough. And then 18th, I've got Villa.
Mm.
I don't really rate them. I'm on the Daz bandwagon. I'm not a big fan of Grealish. They were lucky to survive last year, and I just don't think they
Very
brought
lucky.
in good enough. But I mean, as much as I love Emi Martinez, I don't think they've brought in good enough players to help them steer clear of a relegation battle. So for me, I think it will be them.
And how about your top 6? So we don't. You said top 4, but there's a lot of teams vying now. So top 6.
So I think that City will win the league this season.
Okay.
I see. I saw Matt's reaction there. I think Liverpool obviously a really good team, but I think Pep will be embarrassed by last season. I think they finished so far adrift, having won it the previous season, obviously. So I think he'll have a hunger like never before. I mean, you're always hungry, when you are Pep Guardiola, you want to win trophies. But I think he will be even more hungry because of how badly they did last season compared to Liverpool. I think the business they've done is really good. They've got quality players, obviously De Bruyne and stuff. Silva going is a bit of a miss for them, but I think, he's, as he was, especially last season, I think they sort of phased him out a little bit, because they knew he would be leaving. But yeah, I think City
their
will
question
be...
mark and only question mark this season will be their defence.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's how
I think
It's
Go on.
whether they've done enough to make up the gap of last year with Liverpool. And that, for me, is all defensively, because we all know that they're unbelievable going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, so I've got Liverpool finished second, and I think that part of the reason is that for it's so hard to retain a title, let alone win a title. The mentality is there, but it's a kind of a different mentality of everyone's looking at you now. And after they won it last season, they sort of fell off a little bit. I mean, yeah, maybe you can excuse it. It's like, all right, we've done the hard work now. We can ease off a little bit. But I don't think Klopp would have said that to them. I think that's probably the players themselves, just like, okay, the hard graph's out of the way. But I just think it'll be maybe a step too far. They've done some good business. Obviously they brought in Thiago and Jota very recently. So that might change things, but I just think, they'll want to compete in all fronts. And I just think City will edge them. I think it will be close, but I think City will just about have it. So in third as well, I've got Chelsea. I think the signings that they've made superb. I think I like Lampard, so I hope for their sake that there's players gel quickly. And I think that, once they get firing, then they'll be a really good force. Obviously, question marks over Kepa and stuff. Again, defensively, they need to be strong. But I think the top three will be fairly close. I think Man City and Liverpool will be separated by minimal. I think Chelsea will be a little bit behind, but they won't be that far behind. I really have faith that they will do well this year. And then I've got United to finish fourth. I just think, I just think if they can, put in the performances that they did sort of after the restart last season, then they'll be so hard to cope with. Defensively, they need attention, they need work, but I just think they'll score so many goals that teams just won't be able to handle it really. So yeah, that's the top four. In fifth, I went with it, and I'm going to stick by it. I said Spurs would finish fifth. I think, obviously last season was really disappointing for them in terms of, previous season, third place in a Champions League final, and then obviously it all fell apart. But they did well. I think they finished sixth in the end last year, didn't they? So they kind of did well to recover. Jose is, one of the best managers in the world. I don't think anyone could really argue that. But like Matt said before, he's trying to transition into a different style of play, which is really good to see. He's trying to adapt with the times. And I think, like we mentioned, Bale coming in, the new left back coming in, I think that'll really boost them. And I just think they'll be a really strong unit. And I think they'll use this weekend's result and kick on and, be really solid for the rest of the season. And then I think Arsenal will finish sixth. Be a better season than last season. Saying that, they did win the FA Cup, so overall it wasn't too bad. But I think they play really good football. Obviously, Aubameyang signing a new contract is massive. And I just think, I think it's Arteta, but it's not in a way, because they play really good football. But again, I just think he's still young. He might be naive at times in this season. There might be some performances where they just have that moment where they fall apart or they just can't handle things. So there might be a touch of inconsistency with Arsenal, I think, this year. And I think that might be what sort of hinders them and stops them from getting into the top four. But I think if they continue to build, I think sixth will be a decent season for them. I think obviously they'd like to challenge for Champions League, but it's still 2 places higher in the league than it was last season. So I think it's progression. But I think it's kind of like Chelsea now. They're in the middle of a sort of, near the start of a building project. I think if it goes well, then next season they can really push on and maybe challenge the top four. So, yeah,
fair dues. I'm assuming probably Everton, probably 7th, because you can't rule them out, can you? But
Everton 7th for definite.
But yeah, thank you very much for that. So, with that, let us know your thoughts on all the subjects discussed today. Obviously, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out the socials, which will be on the screen as well. I've been Tenacious G. Today we've had, obviously, Yorkie Man, the Daz Man, and a special guest, which was Jamoplays, sorry. But yeah, Until next time,
Thank you
we'll
for
see you
having
then.
me, by the
Yeah.
way.
Oh yeah, thank you very much for joining us.
yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Cheers.
Yeah. Yeah, but thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.